How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on YouTube.com. The favorite show hosts are still.
Narayan.
And also, I'm here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. Although it wasn't a big week, I don't feel.
Was that unenthusiastic enough for everyone?
Well, I
gaming-
think our average energy level today is kind of low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I've got a little bit of gas, so I'll try and chug us along, I guess.
So,
Yes, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, which you can access by clicking on the link provided in the description underneath the show archive on YouTube.
yes. And again, once as usual, on the stream today, we are playing a bit of Final Fantasy XIV with my, I'm going to call it old Summoner Glamour, because I made this thing like months ago and kind of forgot about it. Couldn't equip it until now.
You look
It makes
like
your hands look fat.
It does. That's the Rathalos gloves that do that. I was kind of going for Demon King, or Anime Demon King, and I'm not sure if I either hit the mark too hard or missed it entirely.
you look like a teenage furry is currently in his edgelord phase.
Yep.
That's the type of person that would make that character. And
That's
that
kind
outfit.
of where I'm thinking. It's like, it's just edge. So, yeah. Meanwhile, look at those winglings. Why do you have winglings?
I don't know. I don't remember where these come from, so.
You got him from the treasure maps we did that one week.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know the gold ones dropped in there. I thought the white ones did, but alright.
Did somebody in our party not accept?
Probably because I don't have my interface turned on.
Oh, that would do it.
Alright.
The
So,
interface is helpful for playing the game.
I also need to summon my Notch Carbuncle. Alright, so in this case, I am going to wear stupid costume into, story roulette.
And like clockwork, it's Praetorium again.
Because of course it is.
It's okay, best EXP per minute.
True, but it's still Praetorium.
I know.
Blood moon tonight, eh?
Mm.
Mm.
I'm also eating my lunch while starting the show because, professionalism.
So you two are dead.
Yeah.
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 You want to explain how you died, starting with Fern?
It's just been an endless work slog up until maybe half an hour ago.
Yeah, I don't think I poked you very much this week, but a little bit. No, you responded to me a day later.
Yeah, I got
When
back
I-
to you eventually. Although I was considering sending you cursed Watame material
I see.
because
Yeah, well,
it's Watame.
I
What
sent
does it
you.
take for Watame material to be cursed?
Yeah, like she did a happy birthday for Subaru, which involved her searching the world to find out if Subaru is in fact a duck. But
Well,
it was incredibly dumb, and she may have gotten herself thrown out of a zoo. So, yeah,
Subaru is adopted into Hollow Burbs, right?
yes, I think they've actually
So-
made Hollow Burbs a thing now.
She must be a duck then.
She's a duck. Although Hollow Burbs didn't have Rainy in it. Maybe she was ejected over the eating cereal out of a rubber glove thing.
I've seen
Not
I've seen her on Hollow Burbs.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah.
They have a lot of burbs, so they don't necessarily have all of them every time.
Yes. 'Cause, yeah, you got... Even just on the JP side, I think there's like 6 of them.
Yeah, you got the owl, the duck,
The Toonie,
the chicken,
the chicken,
or the phoenix,
chicken.
and that's just off the top of my head. If I really thought about it, I'm sure there's more.
What exactly is Louis' shtick supposed to be?
I think she's a falcon?
I thought she was an owl.
No, not now.
No, there aren't two owls. There's only one
There's only
owl.
one owl.
They
Oh,
wouldn't
right,
use
no.
the shtick twice.
All right, the scary one's the owl.
Yes, the scary one. And the plus is a bird that drives around an edgy little girl. Yeah, Rainy is a peafowl, I believe. So, yeah, anyway. It's going to be interesting. Are they going to add another bird when they do Hollowy and Third Wave?
Well, it's a thing now, so
It is a thing now. It is a thing that is in progress anyway.
the way in which you are successful in that industry is by leaning into memes.
Yes. And lean they do. So anyway, that's part of what my week has been. Has just been randomly watching whatever YouTube decides it's going to throw at me in terms of just anything, basically, and that
So
generally
you're stranded at the bottom of a rabbit hole still.
Yeah, that involves a dive into the rabbit hole and finding something that's usually horribly cursed. Like, I can't believe I actually sat down and watched Rainy eating cereal out of a rubber glove. What is,
I
I
saw
did see
you,
a brief clip of that, but it was
what is
mainly
wrong
about
with
the
you? Stop.
reactions to everybody that everybody else had to it.
Yeah,
I saw you linking me neuro
Neurosama.
stuff.
yeah. Like, I clicked on one and it's like, even under 1 second, it's like, yeah, Vito is a femboy. Thank you, Nero. I'm not sure why Vito thought it was a good idea to make evil Nero, because, I mean, that's a bit redundant, isn't it?
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure she's evil, per se, just retarded and stumbles into evil by accident.
But what about the swarm?
I'm not sure she has a clear plan on that.
I don't think she does either.
It seems to change a lot.
And-
Last I heard, it was made of mermaids and fairies.
Yeah, and it needed legs. But I'm pretty sure she's also buying all the parts for her swarm off AliExpress.
hey, occasionally you get a good deal.
Occasionally, yes. Could be worse. She could be going to Wish, where everything is really cheap and smells very suspicious. Especially leather goods. Don't buy leather anything from Wish.
Are you trying to say that you do buy leather goods from Wish?
No, but I have watched a few unboxing videos from Wish, or people buying stuff on Wish.
I have bought a couple of leather items from AliExpress, and both of them were pretty decent, and I'm still using them.
So yeah, I ended up kind of following this weird YouTube thing, which started in the rabbit hole, and then it went to car crashes, which went to mechanics being weird about things, which went to people trying to fit and get a Wish.com supercharger in their car working, and that somehow led back to the rabbit hole. So, I don't know. Good lord, I look edgy. Ugh, I need to change this.
You do look a little bit clownish,
Yeah.
I'm afraid. Like, the only demon lord you remind me of is the one from How Not to Summon a Demon Lord,
Yes.
which is not nearly the image of the demon lord that you really want to project if you want to be in any way intimidating.
No, yeah, that's why I'm thinking. I think I may have either hit it too hard or missed entirely, and I'm not sure which. But
No, you sailed past demon lord and landed an isekai protagonist.
I think I may have. So I'm going to make people's eyes bleed for this run, and then figure out a new glam.
Yeah, I think you hit a foul ball on that one instead of a home run.
Yeah. I think I may have actually killed the referee. So yeah. Anyway, as for video games, a lot of my game this week has actually just been grinding through Titan Quest, and I have discovered something interesting.
Oh,
This game past the first chapter.
There's a game after the 3rd chapter.
oh dear.
So
You really
I've
have
actually
been going at it.
finished...
You're stretching credulity now.
I know, right? I think I finished the base game, which is you chase... I think it was Tysus to Mount Olympus after the bad guy basically lets him go, and you fight the bad guy, kill bad guy, then chase the Titan through Mount Olympus. And then Zeus says, congratulations, now get out of here. He's a little bit more eloquent than that, but that's essentially the gist. Is like, thanks for killing that Titan, now piss off. And the start of Immortal Throne starts with you looking for and eventually finding an incredibly annoyed Medea. So, yeah. mean, it's a good, just no-brain game. You can just sit down and just grind through it. You don't need to worry about the plot because the plot, it exists, and that's about the best you can say about it. Even though I do find it was a nice touch that Medea is annoyed because you just mowed down all of her guardians all the way to meet her.
Well, I mean, she should know better than put guards in the way in a video game.
Yeah, it's like this is ARPG character time. It's if there is a thing in, it will die. I'm not really sure what she expected. I'm not exactly sure why we're chasing Medea, but you know, maybe she's going to do a few murders or something. I don't know.
Probably turned somebody into a pig. Took after her teacher.
Possibly. So, yeah.
Cersei taught Medea, right?
Yeah, she's like her auntie.
Yeah.
Like I don't really remember much of the legends anymore. I used to know a lot of them as a kid, but most of them have been overwritten by fate crap now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
When people say Francis Drake now, I don't think of a guy.
You think of Booba.
I think of Hogekioi.
Yeah. The main thing I remember is about those two is like the crazy apple didn't fall far from the crazy tree, so. That was Greek mythology in a nutshell, though. Bitches be crazy.
One of them really liked pork chops and bacon.
Yes.
Pork chops.
Also, Aphrodite. I'm not sure why anyone would desire her, because she is a crazy bitch.
Well, she's like obviously a chain smoker in Fate.
Yeah, that tracks.
Like there are very few scenes where she's not holding a cigarette.
Good God, she must sound like she has tarmac for her throat. And anyway, so yeah, that's been honestly basically the bulk of my week. I've been invited to go and play, of all things, GTA 5 with some people on a private server, which is the only way to do it. Yeah.
I don't remember GTAs anymore. Like I stopped being able to track them after about GTA 3.
Well, they've been milking 5 for the last 10 years now, so it's not.
Is there an online one?
That is the online one. Thankfully, you can play through the main storyline completely offline, and it is actually quite good.
4 was so close to being good, but then it had Cousin Roman.
It had Cousin Roman, and I think it took itself too seriously sometimes.
Hey Nico, my cousin, would you like to go bowling?
No! Get out of here, Roman. And anytime you're trying to do something important, Roman would want to go bowling.
Or just exploring the world. He'll just ring you up and pester you.
Yes.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea in the big old sandbox game where you just want to drive around and have fun and find stuff.
Yeah, I think that's why San Andreas 2 did so well at roughly the same time. It's because it kind of did everything that GTA 4 wasn't doing. Like,
I mean, the apotheosis of Roman though is Majima.
True.
Like that's when Cousin Roman reaches his true potential.
This is his final form.
Yes.
Hiding in the sewer grate, in the upside down trash can, in the right side up trash can.
That random waitress, the manhole.
Posing as a police officer.
Kiryu-chan.
You do have the option to take another route if you notice the Kiryu-chans are getting louder.
Although I'd have to wonder if he cottons onto that sooner or later.
Oh, Kiryu knows the whole time in game. He is not surprised except for the police officer one. I think he's surprised by, and just holds the idiot ball for a little bit. But all the other ones, is like, I know you're there, Majima.
Yeah. Kiryu tends to hang on to the idiot ball a bit too much sometimes.
He gets surprised by the traffic cone one too, I think.
Oh, the way where he's actually under the traffic cone?
Yeah, he just pops out and Kiryu's like, WTF, bro?
How did you get in there?
How did you fit?
Yeah, Majima doesn't have bones, evidently.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about Yakuza this past week because Ava's been going through the remastered set of games 3, 4, and 5.
There's so much good game content there that I want to play through, and I just don't have time because there's all the whole Like a Dragon series there now.
Yeah, the problem with going through the remastered games is 3 and 4 especially got some shoes.
Yeah.
Notably, you spend a whole lot of time in Orphanage in 3 with Kiryu, just hanging out with a bunch of kids, and if you don't care about these kids, you're not going to like this game at all.
Yeah.
I put it down because these kids were driving me nuts. And then got distracted by something else and never got back to it. So I still got to do 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yep. You did 0?
Yeah, I did. I played one of them before, way before I actually got into the series, but I forget which one. And then I did 0, Kiwami 2.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one I played in there too. It's a long time ago now.
Occasionally I think about starting one and then I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what the play order is, so we'll do something easier.
Yeah. Generally, though, I think you do Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2, and that will catch up to the bulk of it.
You can start with 0 if you want.
0 is really, really good. So if you start with that, you're
I think,
fine.
Yeah, I think 0 is a great starting point.
Mm. And it's got a lot of prequel story in it as well, so... Or you could skip that entirely and go to the madness that is Ichiban.
Yeah, but
is that new offshoot? Is that like designed to stand entirely alone without foreknowledge of the previous stories?
You know, I'm not entirely certain.
With Like a Dragon with Ichiban, no, you need some knowledge at least of what the major clans are and who the major players are, who Kiryu is, who Majima is, who Saejima is, all the major characters to really get a grasp on some stuff that was happening around the time I put it down.
Yeah, you can still enjoy it without that, but you get a lot more with it.
Well, yeah, you're missing the entire history of the Tojo clan and stuff.
Yeah,
and why that's important. That's kind of important to why stuff is impactful and gives it weight in the story. If you don't have that, it's stuff in that game just ain't gonna hit as hard.
Yeah, some stuff just falls flat. But it's such a radical shift in gameplay as well that it's just like, yeah, okay. I mean, the first like 2 hours of Like a Dragon is hobo fights.
I am considering rebuying it on PC and looking for a mod that lets me decrease the enemy spawn timer.
Yeah.
Or increase the enemy spawn timer. Because that was the biggest reason I put it down and said I'll come back to this later.
Yeah, the spawns are kind of all over the place.
Well, the way they work is, because I distinctly remember testing this, enemies have a spawn point, but they have a patrol path that is absolutely massive.
Yes.
And you do not have to get very far from a spawn point for the game to run a check and see if that mob is spawned, and then just spawn it. So let's say that's like 20 meters. If you bump into this patrolling pack at 21 meters from its spawn and take 2 steps forward, you'll see it walking right down the road again?
Yes. They respawn nearly immediately, and if you're on their spawn point, good luck to you.
And if you gotta go up and down the street, I hope you like fighting the same trash pack over and over and over again. Where's your buddy?
There's... Oh, here he comes. There's one outdoor mall. I think it's got like 3 spawns, or 3 packs that spawn in it. And if you walk through there, you're going to be fighting them nearly constantly.
Yeah, it's a right pain in the butt.
Yeah. So yeah, something to tweak the spawns would be nice. Feel my edgy.
Yeah, deep concentration required to find Nero.
Yes.
Trying to optimize your deep sun, Nero.
I got to press this one button, and I got to press it properly.
I'll let y'all kill it. I don't feel like fighting it.
Yeah, fine. All right. Beyond that, that's basically been my week. I haven't even had a chance to really watch any anime. There's the new season there, and I think I still got one episode of Mashal there I need to catch up on. But, yeah.
Oops, I gave myself a huge shield by accident because I hit F1 instead of F2.
Shields!
Oh
Fine.
well. I guess I'll just have to settle for immortality.
I mean, yeah. I'm really actually drawing. I haven't even done anything this week. I haven't even read any good books. It's been that sort of week. Because normally I've got an audio book going and while I'm working, and it's just...
Read, he says.
Well, I read with my ears.
That's not how that skill is supposed to work.
No, it is not. But it is how it do. That's the best way I find to actually get time to read or enjoy books.
Know that feel though.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not driving as much as I used to because there aren't as many job sites to go to. So my audiobook consumption has tanked.
Yeah, I've got to. Ari did point out to me that there is a new Monster Hunter International there. I should be keeping an eye out for.
You get to watch Owen and Trip go to Dragon Con dressed as Cookie Monster and Elmo.
Okay, I think I need to read this now. Why? And who? More importantly, who is who?
Owen is Cookie Monster.
Okay, that at least makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, isn't he like built like a quarterback? Like having
Yeah.
him be
Owen is a big
having him
dude.
be Elmo would have been interesting.
Yes.
Well,
hilarious.
It's not the full costume. It's just the head.
Which
Okay.
circles us back again to the rabbit hole because that's another thing that keeps on popping up is Buff Bay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that thumbnail did appear quite a number of times in my feed over the course of the week.
Yeah. For those who haven't seen
I
it,
can live without it.
HoloLive did the English concert, and someone did the Manly Misty with Bay's costume, and it's impressive, admittedly.
Yeah, it's probably the least suited costume that there is for it.
Yeah, I'd be worried if you could pull a crony, admittedly. That would say very odd things.
Yeah, well, with Crony's outfit is only lewd because of the physique underneath it.
Yes. The outfit doesn't quite contain it.
Yeah, it is suggestive because it is form-fitting, but you need a form for a form-fitting outfit to fit to
Yes.
in order for it to be odd.
I'm also wondering if he picked Bay just because you get the nice, easy nickname to go with it, which is Buff Bay.
Nah, there's no way he predicted that.
No, people don't predict memes.
Yeah,
Any memes that are predicted never take off.
true. So yeah, this
Yeah,
is this is the new Manly Misty.
Yeah. So I've seen it, but I haven't. I was just kind of like, oh, that's a thing, I guess. Okay. I
Yeah.
hope he was having fun.
So you have to wonder, actually, you watch some of the those live stage concerts, and how much of that is like post-production editing, and how much of that is the actual holograms? Because
There are a ton of post production editing in those. I can guarantee you.
yeah, the
They-
holograms are getting good.
Yeah. Well, the visual display of the hologram technology is going to keep getting better, but the performance itself, the dot hologram file they play through it, I guarantee you that has a team of editors working for months before it gets out, or a month.
Oh, yeah.
Some change at
Like,
least.
Probably there's a team of editors working live at the time to tweak it at that
Oh, yeah.
exact instant.
The fact that the moment the concert over, Bay started streaming, like she was sitting at home the whole time, weren't she? So yeah, they're not really fooling anyone, I suppose, because they've already that dance routine probably wasn't even the actual voice actors.
Well, the thing is that they have a policy of not having their talent on site at a time that people could reasonably infer they're on site.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, even if they need to stop by the office to discuss something, they need to make an appointment. They can't just drop by because they don't want people to be noting who is going in and out.
Yeah.
And telling the fan base that they're not here during concerts stops them from rabidly chasing the poor young lady that sounds kind of sorta like one of the talents
Yeah.
that isn't them.
It's all part of the VTuber mystique, and it's also part of just general security.
Oh yeah, because people are crazy, and
Yeah.
the type of people that are willing to shell out cash to go to a hologram concert for VTubers,
They're already
They're
on a
gonna be-
knife's edge.
Yes.
they're a little bit obsessive, is putting it nicely.
Yeah. You don't necessarily want those people kind of hanging around.
You want their money, but you don't want them anywhere near the actual talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Japanese idol scene has a reputation for generating troublesome fans.
Yes. So it's good for the performers that they've got that layer of anonymity there. Even
I mean, it's a bit of a flimsy layer of anonymity in a lot of ways. Like, most people who really diligently follow the VTubers know who their past lives were, but there's, a gentleman's code in the fan base that you just don't speak about it.
yeah,
And anybody who tries to usually gets shut down pretty quickly by the other fans.
yeah.
If you're not in Vol's country, you can literally go to the VTuber thread on the forums and just do a search.
Yeah. But yeah, just and unless they've done something really horrible, just don't. Just don't.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll go look up who they used to be, because I'm not attached to these girls as some of their more diehards are. I find it interesting to see what they did, but
Yeah.
I'm not engaged in the community enough and waving their identity around in everybody's face either.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm not at the point where I can even comprehend the idea of sending money to a person online.
Yeah.
I just at what point can you do that calculus and come out with an okay sign? Like, I don't get it at all.
I don't care how much you like the content of a stream. A super chat doesn't make sense to me.
It really doesn't.
Like,
Yeah.
it
Well, I
just
mean,
ain't worth it, man.
But there are some that I do understand. Like, there are various like right-wing political commentators who I watch their streams, and people will send super chats of a couple of bucks because they want to ask a direct question and get a direct answer, and that's part of what they do in those streams. But so that sort of makes sense, because they're creating political content, like political analysis and philosophical treatises and that sort of thing, and that's one way of giving a bit of financial compensation plus getting your particular question about the topic of the day answered.
Yeah, but that's only a couple of bucks.
This isn't throwing $200 at an anime avatar online. This is a different phenomenon.
Yeah, especially
Just so
since
she can-
she might not even acknowledge your presence.
Yeah, just so if she even reads your super chat, she reads it in the same stock voice she uses for literally everybody else, and so you can just reaffirm to yourself you're not special by paying an absurd amount of money.
Maybe they're all hoping that they'll be the 1 in a million that turns into a meme or something.
Yeah, although
Yeah. No,
it's
not
really
everybody
rare
can be
that
the
it
Mike
is.
Tyson guy.
Yeah.
Burn, you're about to get mowed over.
Oh right.
Oh, so did I. I was not standing far enough forward in the box.
I was not paying attention. So yeah. But yeah, I don't mind if you've got someone who's making content you're supporting and you want to help them out a little bit. I'm not opposed to donating a little bit to an author just to help them along. But in the case of waifus, particularly, but VTubers in particular, might be better off going and buying their merch if you really want to support them.
Yeah, I don't. If there is merch that takes my fancy due to being of a particular design that I like, well, I mean, then I would be happy to buy it.
Yeah.
But just sending money into the void just seems really weird to me.
At least with merch, then you've got something to show for it.
Well, I can rationalize. Oh well, I was purchasing this thing.
Yeah.
Like the sort of the calculus, the internal calculus makes sense. There was this object to buy, and I had money, and I exchanged the money for the object.
Yes. Yeah, that's just why I don't get Super Chap simps.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they think is going to come out of it, but I guess that once you reach a certain level of blurring the lines between, reality and fiction, probably becomes easier to do other irrational things.
Yeah, the whole parasocial relationship that they nurture.
Yeah,
hate
well,
that
I
word.
think that word has become much abused in at any rate
It
since
has.
it basically describes too many different things.
Yeah. Like, it.
Both in the literal sense that there are many different things it can describe, and the figurative sense in that it has come to describe lots of different things, regardless of whether or not they're actually appropriate.
Yeah, like, you have a casual viewer and you have, like, an ultra simp, and they're still using the same term between both.
Like people aren't like restricting the use of a term like that to those people who have become convinced that there is a real relationship between them and some e-celebrity.
Yeah.
Which is that's what people originally used to use it for. Like, a parasocial relationship was an unhealthy social relationship which had developed as a substitute for a real one.
Yeah. Now, it's a profitable one.
Yeah, now it's just like, oh well, you enjoy this person's content online and are reasonably diligent about keeping up with it. It's like, that's just being a fan.
That's just being a fan.
That's being a fan of somebody. You people are taking too much damage. My goodness.
That's because I'm only half paying attention and keep standing in no-no spots. So anyway, now I'm going to wrap my week up there because I just don't. I've been stretching and I don't have anything to talk about. So, Vol, what you been doing? Please be more.
Oh, I got a beating.
Oh,
I got a beating this week.
You got a drubbing.
It was a rough week at work. On the upside, sales numbers are way up, I guess. On the downside, sales numbers are way up.
Yeah.
Because that means that I have to do all that work. Somebody's got to do it. Yeah, it was a rough week. One of our customers had a pathogen detection on one of their swabs and went into traceback mode, which basically means that they've got to investigate by swabbing every square inch of their plant for pathogens and get. I think the protocol is normally like a minimum of 5 clear days in a row before they can end the traceback, or either that or a conclusion to their investigation, or both.
Northward.
Hang on.
The general gist of that being that we had a humongous amount of work to do, like a lot of work, a lot of work. Numbers of samples coming in was sort of like up 35 to 40% on what it would be for this time during a normal month. So yeah, it was basically a huge amount of manual work at a time where I really can't afford to be having to supplement manual work. I need to be at my desk to doing the paperwork at this particular point, because there's a lot of things that need doing.
Heck did I do with my level sync macro?
I don't know. What did you do with your level sync macro?
There it is. It's easier to push it if it's on my hotbar instead of messing with it in the interface when I'm on controller.
Fair enough. Doopy-doo, I've got my buttons back.
But yeah, so I was pretty much shellacked by the work cycle this week and didn't do much of anything else. As for what I did do, such as it was, I did play a little bit more of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. While I like the presentation of it, more and more the conclusion that I just keep coming to as I'm playing is that this bizarre halfway house between being a JRPG and being an action game doesn't serve anybody, and I don't like it.
It's never really worked, no matter how many people have tried it.
Well, it just doesn't have the responsiveness of an actual action game as far as I can see, and it doesn't have the sense of strategy and control that you have in a conventional JRPG with turn-based combat. Like, I know that there are definitely going to be people who would argue that that's a skill issue, but I don't actually want to do turn-based combat at the speed of light, and I also don't want an action game where I have to constantly pause to do turn-based type actions.
Yeah.
Like, this halfway house does not serve anybody. Like, it doesn't matter whether you think it's a decent action game or you think it's a decent JRPG. The reality is that if you picked one, it would be better at it. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
The halfway house genre is not it's not like a plus. You're not doing better because of it.
This is the thing I've heard from most people that have played it, and it's like think about playing Devil May Cry or Trails, because those are on my brain lately. Like, those two are, one is a turn-based RPG and one is a action game, and mixing any elements of the other genre into either of them would only make them less fun.
Yeah. There is a mode that I haven't tried out, and I probably will going forward on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is designed to be it does the action part for you. Like, your characters will run around and do like auto attack flailing, and you focus on the command portion of it. And it's framed by most people as easy mode, but frankly, I don't care if it's easy mode, because the not easy mode is not fun. Like, it's just frustrating to me that I've got this bizarre setup where I can only really attend to one character at a time, and the other characters become sort of pseudo useless while you're not controlling them because they're retarded. And because you've got a JRPG set up for what abilities and equipment you can allocate per character, you really can't have everything under your control all at once. There's just everything about it is frustrating, and I would rather at this point just stop playing the play portion and enjoy the story. Like, I'm at the point where I want story mode because I just don't like the gameplay. It's not bad, it's just like everything about it screams this would have been better if. Like, that's the only thought that you end up having is this would have been better if. Because everything that they've done, everything that they've done is just needless. If they had kept it like strictly turn-based, maybe only the purists would be happy, and the people who are looking for something a bit new might be upset. But it would be a better game, even if they had just kept it turn-based but developed the depth of that system a bit more. I think that people would have been fine with it, but the way it is, it's just kind of annoying to me. Like, I'm annoyed by it. It's like this is everything about this is just a missed opportunity to have a good combat system.
It's unfortunate. As much as I like, forget I have to turn tank stance on every single time. A new.
You have a macro for it?
Not for Gunbreaker now.
But it's so. It's not that I'm not enjoying the game, because I am actually having quite a bit of fun just watching to see how the things that I remember, or as vague as my memories are of them, sort of presented in a new fashion. It's kind of fun, but I just sort of groan every time it forces me to do combat.
Yeah, and it's a shame with Final Fantasy. There's a thing over there we need to kill. It's a shame with Final Fantasy VII, because as much as I love action games, we currently are in a drought of RPGs, specifically turn-based RPGs.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think the thing that really framed it well is that there's this section in one of the chapters where I think it's like chapter 4 or something, and you're raiding a Shinra facility because you want fissile material to make a bomb. I think this segment happens off screen in the original RPG. But you are accompanying the mission in this version, and you end up having a second encounter. When you end up having a second encounter with Roche, the soldier third class, who's basically a speed freak, you get cornered into a stand-up one-on-one sword fight with him, and it really, 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 really shows the weaknesses of the combat system when you do. Because after seeing him do his things a few times, it essentially devolves into turn-based combat. Like, you'll slash at him, and then you'll wait for him to do a thing, and you'll block that thing, and then you'll do a thing, and then he will get knocked down, and you'll go in and you'll do some damage, and then he'll recover, and then you wait for him to do his thing so that you can block that and then do your thing. And basically you do various permutations on a loop of activities that are done in response to activities that you're permitting the opponent to do. So it doesn't feel like action at all. It feels like, this is turn-based, except that, it's easier for you to let your turn run out or whatever.
How do you spell? Oh, it's Royal Guard, right?
Yeah. You forgot to press the button again, didn't you?
No, I'm making a Royal Guard macro for my level sync thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's let's just say that there's no battles in Devil May Cry that feel like these battles do. And honestly, it's just not very satisfying. Battles against like big mecha and that are just not that satisfying either, because you just feel like you're flailing away at them without making a mark most of the time until their health bar runs out and they die. And the idea of an action game where you're constantly having to manage potions and health levels of your party is also nonsensical. Like, in an action game, the way you avoid dying is you avoid getting hit normally.
Normally, yes.
Like, when you're forced to patch yourself up is because you done screwed up in a big way.
Yeah, you failed to parry, block, or dodge.
But in this case, like, just taking damage is something that happens, like, all the time, constantly. Because it's like that in a JRPG, right? You can't avoid taking damage, because the enemy is going to get their turn whether you like it or not. Unless you have, like, heaps of delay quartz, I guess. But yeah, it's like everything about this game's mechanics just feel really janky and out of place, and they ought not have bothered. I think that they have done themselves a disservice in trying to change genre just to be flashy or whatever. It's not like the battles don't look really, really cool when they're going well, because the graphics are really nice, and there's lots of flash to everything. But actually playing it just feels like you no matter what you're doing, you feel like you're doing it badly, has been my feeling. Because either you are doing the combat badly because you're managing your dudes, or you are managing your dudes badly because you're busy doing the combat. You can't focus on one thing or the other. You've got to balance the two, meaning you do both of them at a mediocre level. So yeah, I'm a bit grim on how it feels to play, but it's interesting from a story perspective. Like, there are various significant departure from things that happened in the original, though the significance of these things, because the game is still like pretty stringently at this stage adhering to the Stations of the Cross, as it were. Like, you're moving from story beat to story beat in a well-worn story. There are just things injected here and there which make you think, whoa, what does this mean? Why is this here? This wasn't like that last time.
Yeah, as I understand, it's not till the second half of the game that things start really going off the rails.
Yeah, but they're very obviously laying that groundwork.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I'm just frustrated by it at the same time. So I'm going to try their command mode. I think they call it classic style or something, where you focus on giving commands as opposed to constantly, jockeying around with the position of your dudes, which honestly is just annoying. Especially when when the game remembers that Barret is a member of your party, and you should use him sometimes. So they give you some obnoxious enemy that just requires you to switch to Barret and shoot.
Okay, that's just tedious.
Yeah, anytime you're forced to play as Barret, it's tedious. And they, in order to keep him relevant, they will occasionally make you use him.
Because he's the only one at the moment with gun.
Yeah, and that's all.
Yeah.
He just gun. I mean, you could
does
turn him into a
gun.
melee character in 7 if you wanted to, but I have a funny feeling that they aren't necessarily going to go that way, at least for a while.
He got that ridiculous boxing glove weapon, which is great.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that there's a straight up sword that you can get in 7 at one point.
I think there was, yeah.
Stick that on his arm. But yeah, I suppose that to some extent that's advantageous because in this game they have a system for weapon upgrades such that weapons, or basically all weapons, scale at least to some extent through the entire game.
Okay.
So the Buster Sword that you start with is sort of like a banal balanced weapon, but it becomes an incredibly good weapon later on because as you upgrade it, it becomes a very powerful go-to for situations where one of your fancy specialized weapons isn't quite a good fit because you're going to have to change circumstance too much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you get to keep weapons. So if they do give Barrett a melee weapon, I guess you could turn him into a melee character because you could just keep upgrading that. But the game is expecting you to have gun Barrett. So every time that they give you something flying around all the time that you can't reach, or something that needs one of his skills to stagger or whatever, yeah. So I feel like virtually every mechanical change that have been made has been to the detriment of the game as a whole. Is the short version.
Yeah.
It's mechanically everything is a straight up miss.
Well, hopefully they sort that out for part 2.
I don't think that they will, simply because I'm in the minority on this opinion. Most people seem to think it's quite cool, but I don't. I think that it's just not really an efficient use of resources to have completely revamped the game system as opposed to developing the old one into something like I would like to see that classic style move forward, as opposed to be replaced entirely by this bizarre wannabe action system. Like, I thought, to the extent that I played it, the one that I liked the most was probably, say what you like about the rest of the game, it had its issues, but Final Fantasy 13-2 had the best incarnation of, like, the best feel to me of the turn-based system. Where it was a development of 13's, where 13 had the different jobs that you could have, like the what was it, Ravager, Commando, Saboteur.
Yeah,
like,
the one that draws aggro and tanks, the one that does break damage, the one that does actual damage, the caster one, the support one.
Yeah, the implementation of that one in Final Fantasy 13-2, where it was quite similar, but the impact of whichever one you had selected was significantly higher, rather than just it affecting stats primarily, and the rate at which you had to adapt circumstances and switch between jobs was higher. Like, I felt like that was a very fluid iteration on turn-based JRPG. But I'm not saying that that's like the single way forward. I'm saying it was an interesting variation on a theme, which actually developed the gameplay and altered it a little bit while still being a turn-based game.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than attempting to be Devil May Cry at the same time as being Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Don't
if you're gonna play in the same ballpark as games like Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Rising, you need to bring your A game and focus on what you're doing. You can't split your attention. Otherwise, people are just going to, well, a sane person that's not a fanboy, because the Final Fantasy community, I take their opinion about as seriously as I take the Trails community's opinion on Reverie.
Yeah.
So anybody that's not in the cult is going to go, yeah, but I can go play this game that's better.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, it's not hard. Like, we've seen, even recently, turn-based RPGs done well, and in different ways. Like, I like how Persona does it, where it treats it more as a puzzle than anything else.
But Persona's big problem is that it's comically easy.
It is.
Yeah,
once you figure out the puzzle, that's it. It's only one puzzle.
The press turn system is a single gimmick.
Yes.
And we've used it for how many games now?
5?
Since Nocturne.
Yeah, the problem with that system is that you can't. It's sort of an evolutionary dead end at this point, because the only way that they can make the combat tougher at this point is by making it a touch of death, and
Yeah, and you don't
everybody
want
hates touch of death.
You don't want that.
Yeah, you need to force the player to not use turns where they can exploit the press turn, and that means do so much damage that the player has to waste two or three characters' turns healing or defending themselves.
And that's
before,
always how it ends up. Like if you run into a boss fight and you haven't figured out the gimmick yet, you just waste all your time healing.
Yeah, then
And
reload,
then
and then
one-
by then you'll know the gimmick.
Yeah, once you know the gimmick, you go and you just sweep them.
Yeah.
Like that's all there is
Well,
to it. That's why I say it's a kind of an evolutionary dead end in a lot of ways. And then there are the really abusive, supposedly tough fights where all it is like, oh well, you look up the exact turn order that's required to actually complete the fight online, and you do that because it's the only way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've got to iterate on it yourself and take hours and hours and hours out of your life to do it.
Yeah, bring
They
X,
did
Y,
a-
Z character, and the fight is now easy mode.
They did a fairly good job with Demifiend in SMT5, and I don't like giving SMT5 praise as a super boss, where his gimmick was different from the strict turn order of Margaret and Elizabeth.
Mm.
His gimmick instead was he's obviously a super boss, so in an SMT game, so his stats are bonkers, and he will summon his demons to fight, and you have to be sure you kill a demon every 3 turns, otherwise he one-shots your party with Gaia Rage.
Ah, lovely.
But all his demons have different abilities that make different priority targets, and being able to cover your weaknesses appropriately without becoming immune, because if you got too much immunity going on, he'll Gaia Rage anyway.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I don't like that as a gimmick either. Like I don't like gimmicks which are do this exactly this way, otherwise it's an insta wipe. Like
Yeah.
it seems like there's a form of difficulty that doesn't just, involve killing you if you don't play Simon Says correctly.
The problem with the press turn system in the real breakdown is they allowed immunities to begin with, and that's why when they actually want to make a hard fight, they run into trouble because they're like, okay, we got to make a whole bunch of arbitrary rules because we allowed the player to be immune to everything.
Yeah, like that sort of thing would be fine for a one-off boss, and a super boss at that's like, here's a super tough boss, figure out how to crack his shell. But
Well,
when the whole game
that is all.
that,
Yeah. Well, it is only usually relegated to the super bosses, but the problem is those are the only bosses that they manage to actually cram any challenge into, and half
Yeah.
the challenge is rebuilding your party because you've. Oops. Try that again.
monkey.
Half the challenge is rebuilding your party because when you're playing through the main game, you'll naturally build a bunch of immunities on your character and your demons, and you get to the super boss and it's like, okay, if we want this fight to actually be challenging, you can't do that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. I'm gonna keep playing it because I'm enjoying seeing the story retold and seeing a bit more color put into some of these characters. Like I know that people often said that the game was very cringy
Which
and
it is.
only accessible to people who are fanatical about Seven. But I never really liked Seven very much, and I'm finding this growing on me. Like there's still things about it that grate me, and it still has the sensibility and aesthetic of Seven. So the things that I didn't like about it are still there to some extent. But that's also in its own way a good thing because it means the game hasn't lost its character of being Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. The bigger thing I find
but
that, particularly about Final Fantasy VII fans, is they tend to ignore the shoddy writing in places.
Yeah, well, the thing is that the characters are all very simplistic archetypes for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically uses like obtuse light novel world building style
Mm-hmm.
in order to add like story complexity is what they think of it as, but it's not really story complexity. It's just like obnoxious world building with a whole bunch of special rules.
Yeah, at best it's a
Um,
plot tumor.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand what's going on there, but I can tolerate that quite handily. I'm not bothered by that kind of thing really.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see some characters get a bit more screen time. Like, for instance, if you take a bit character like Heidegger, for instance, who was 100% like a cartoon character in the original, like, he's actually really kind of menacing. In this one, he still has the same character. Like, he still does his, loud belly laughs every 5 minutes. But seeing the sort of but getting to hear sort of like the undercurrent of menace in his voice, and getting to sort of like see the fear in the eyes of his subordinates, who like they know what happens to people who don't satisfy him, sort of thing. And like there's an extra dimension to there which brings him out of cartoon character territory and into, oh right, I know who this character is. This guy is like the dear leader's most trusted commissar type character, and he's probably got enough blood on his hands to fill a swimming pool.
Yeah,
you can hear that now. And it's conveyed by the character. Whereas before, he's like, a squat little character with about 8 polygons who just has a text box saying ha 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 all the time.
Yeah. Yet somehow everyone is scared of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, he's like visibly like, he's a big, broad, tall guy who clearly has the ear of the president, and everybody's afraid of crossing him because they know what the cost will be. And he's got that constant, I'm actually your friend and doing you a favour affectation with his subordinates, even though they know that he'll have them killed if they fail him, and he knows that they know that he'll have them killed if they fail him, and so on. So it's like this like very obviously toxic work environment that they've got going on there. And all of this stuff is like conveyed in the subtext if you really, 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 really read into it in the text box version of the game. But seeing it actually acted out makes it a lot more punchy. So I think that those characters which have been improved the most are the ones that have been lifted the most are those minor characters who you need to see them express themselves in more dimensions in order to get what they really are. Like, you see a lot more of, like, Jesse and Biggs and Wedge as well. Like, other bit characters. And when they're given a chance to be more expressive, they end up being, like, real people instead of red shirts.
Yeah. Because, the original version, they get maybe half an hour of screen time each, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's the scene where Jesse has you rob her house for her because she can't bring herself to do it. Because she wants you to steal the ID card of her comatose father. Who is comatose because he collapsed inside a Mako storage facility and basically never woke up. And so she's got all of these religious hang-ups about what does that mean for his soul? Where is it? Did it go to the live stream, or is it stuck partway between? Or so there's a lot of extra depth has been given to these minor characters by seeing them get to like act as people, as opposed to just, oh well, you appear on screen for the mission and then you disappear and we forget what your name was.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And also, there's quite a bit of atmosphere added by things like, well, spending time living in the slums, because you do. Like when you join up with Avalanche, you actually spend time living in the slums. You do odd jobs for people in between missions, sort of thing. So yeah, there is a lot of depth added to it because I'm trying to give a counterbalance for my constant criticism of the mechanics, because the mechanics are shite. But the way that they have reimagined the story is actually really quite engaging, and the superfans are never going to accept it because the story is not the same. But standing on its own as sort of like an alternate history retelling of Final Fantasy VII, I think it's quite enjoyable.
I think it's a very smart decision going that route too, because if they just did a one-to-one retelling, then the superfans would pick it to pieces and they'd never be satisfied. But
yeah, and what's more, the story itself would actually be really banal when played out like that.
Yes.
Because it was written for that particular format.
Yeah. And it just wouldn't work.
No, it wouldn't be the same at all.
So
anyway. So yeah, that's still an ongoing project for me. I haven't thrown up my hands in despair and given up on it, but hopefully, if I switch to classic mode, the combat will become a bit more tolerable and a little bit less obnoxious. But yeah, what else did I do? I haven't made much progress on the anniversary event for FGO at all, because the bastards decided that the last 2 anniversary fights were going to be Demeter and Kushtaria Wodime, and those fights are nightmarish. Like, the Demeter particularly is notorious because Demeter makes you start with Canis in your party as the mandatory support, meaning that you can't take another support, disabling a whole bunch of common strategies, and you've got this total deadweight that must start on your front line, meaning that you need to find a way to either get them killed quickly so that you can move on with an actual strategy, or you've got to expend your position swap to get them onto the back line so you can begin a real strategy. So basically you have to fight the battle with one hand tied behind your back, and it's really frustrating and annoying. And and Demeter's main mechanics are stripping away the buffs that you put on your characters and putting buff block on your characters so you can't rebuff them. It's just everything about that fight is horrifically annoying.
I just want to point out the guy that has been following us around is called Dingle Madong.
I noticed. I appreciate the potato, but yeah, that name, yo.
That's completely derailed my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, so I've still got those 2 fights to do. I've done all the others. It was sort of interesting doing what's his name? Goetia again. With his 1.5 million hit points but no break bars because they hadn't invented them. Well, actually, no, they had invented them back then, I think. Because I think... No, did they have them? I can't remember if they had them back then or whether that came in with Epic Remnant. But yeah, that was interesting. I had quite a few false starts attempting to do that one because I couldn't really remember how I used to do strategies back then, when everybody had giant hit bars instead of multiples of hit bars. So yeah, in the end I went with a strategy of just trying to keep Karma alive for 3 turns and then buffing her to the 9s and then spending 2 turns just whomping the boss with like 700,000 damage per turn type of thing. So, but yeah, I've still got to finish those, and I dread those fights. I absolutely dread those fights. The Kushtaria fight is a pain in the butt as well, because if you make a tiny mistake, you'll just wipe the party. Like he's really, really, really vicious. Just does a lot of damage. But there are ways around it. Like you can just prevent him from acting at certain times if you play your cards right and that type of thing. It's not the game still has its crit related issues, but those are not really the issues with the Demeter fight and the Wodime fight. I don't know how I'm going to do the Wodime fight. I bumbled my way through it in the story, but I have no idea what I did or how. I just remember that it was tough. Don't remember what I did with Demeter either. I think I probably just loaded down my party and face checked her until she fell over. But yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that. But the reason why those fights are up again is because it is anniversary time, meaning GSSR is on the table and the Koyanskaya banner is on the table. So GSSR, this time I pulled Melusine. So that's my second copy of Melusine, which is good because I only had one copy of her and I wanted very much to have at least 2. And so now I do have 2, which means that once Oberon comes out and I can land him and then get a really, really efficient meta farming team set up for those nodes that I just hate doing but need to do. So that'll be good. I pulled for Koyanskaya and got her relatively quickly, which means I still have about 2,000 quartz in the bank for the next banner that I want to roll on. So that's also good. Well, maybe not quite 2,000, but pretty close to it. Yeah, so Koyanskaya is good at present, but becomes much better with Oberon. Once you've got Koyanskaya and Oberon, there's a whole bunch of different comps open up to you that are able to loop on very awkward nodes, like 112s and 122s and 212s and that sort of thing. Which are they're really high reward nodes that they put in events, but they require very complex team compositions in order to do them efficiently, because the efficiency will really drop off quite sharply if you don't do a really good job of setting your team up. They only use them in optional farming nodes, so it's not like something that holds you back. You can usually, and oftentimes I do just pick farming a different node, because I think that the on paper most efficient one is just too obnoxious to actually do the strategy repeatedly. But yeah, so I've got quartz in the chamber for Oberon's banner and enough to guarantee pity on it, so I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, the anniversary season as far as pulls was pretty successful for me in FGO. What else? Blue Archive, I have now finished the main story up to date on it, and I feel like I did enjoy the fourth chapter of Eden Treaty, but the follow-up chapter was sort of a bit mood whiplashy, because they're clearly trying to give you a rest chapter.
Gotta go back with the gamer girls and see what the robot's doing.
Yeah, they have a fairly it's a story that I feel like I've watched in like 3 different anime before, told in exactly the same way, but it's a fairly conventional type of friendship conquers all story where everybody comes together to help out at the end and realize the true meaning of friendship, etc. But I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it very much. Though I'm still kind of mystified as to why the fan base likes Rio so much, since she basically doesn't do anything but make herself look like a sophomoric retard throughout most of the story.
Which one's Rio?
Rio is the student council president of Millennium.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so she doesn't appear on screen at any point until Clockwork Pavane 2. But she's supposed to be like a super hyper ultra genius type of person, but she seems to have like a childishly simple Kiritsugu style philosophy to everything. Like the Spocky and the needs of the many must outweigh the needs of the few approach to everything, and the sort of her constant bleating about that, and her constant being proved to be wrong because she lives in anime world, where friendship does conquer all because this is an anime. It's a little bit frustrating watching her get taken seriously when she's behaving in such a a simple-minded manner, essentially. But I mean, that's in a sense, that's one of those things, I suppose, which is there to remind you that these characters are all still kids. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not mature. So they will act out in irrational teenager-like ways, even if they are intellectually. Some of them might be super geniuses. The reality is that they haven't reached the level of emotional maturity to call themselves adults, which is sort of like a meta plot point that is constantly bubbling away in the background. That the thing that makes an adult is not having passed a particular number of years on the earth, but having reached a certain amount of emotional maturity and perspective on the world.
Sensei seems to always throw the line out that it's about someone that can take responsibility.
Yeah. Whereas when you see one of the characters try and take responsibility, it always ends up being, well, what they actually wanted was for things to play out in accordance with their plans. And when that doesn't happen, they don't really know what to do, because they were just acting on their own selfish impulses ultimately. Versus
Sensei, who, when he thinks he ain't, or she, I guess it could be either, thinks they haven't done a good enough job guiding the students, and now the students are in trouble, they're willing to whip out the credit card and literally pay for it.
Yeah, the credit card is a universe mechanic in that setting.
Is it an infinity credit card? Because
No,
The
it's a
bill-
credit card that literally trades your lifespan for power.
Okay. That's a bit steep. But I suppose it does stop them treating it as a get out of shenanigans free card.
I've seen it used, I think, twice in the story, and they were both for situations where, for twofold reasons. And number one, there was a situation where everything else had fallen to, and number two, it was a situation which was designed to position Sensei in the story as the one that the kids can all turn to when everything has gone pear-shaped, and there's not really anything left that anybody can do.
He threatens to whip it out once with Black Suit, and the next time he threatens to whip it out, I noticed consistency here. He is much quicker to whip out the card when there's another adult involved that's screwing around.
Yeah, because then it becomes his business. It's his job to deal with this, to deal with adults that would interfere with the students. He considers it his job to personally give them a seeing to, and you don't really have a very clear image of what your character is thinking from a certain point of view, but it is pretty clear that the protagonist character hates Gematria. Just really hates them. But yeah. Yeah, I've enjoyed the story so far. I'm looking forward to seeing where it will go in the future. We're still moving forward at an accelerated pace. Currently in the New Year's event, which was an enjoyable, if silly, event. And I think we're moving into a Valentine's rerun shortly, like in a few days.
Yeah, we if our special banners are on with JP, we should have a rate up banner, like a Prince Fest banner, coming soonish.
Yeah, I think the Princess Fest equivalent will come probably with Mika, and the sub characters that will also be on that banner will be other ones that you can't get other times. Like, for instance, Wakamo. You can only get Wakamo on the Princess Fest equivalent. I don't know what they're called in Blue Archive.
It's going to be Pre-Fest forever. But yeah, and I think Swimsuit Hoshino's on there too, who's a really, really good explosive power multiplier.
Well, they say basically if you're going to do red, you need to have Swimsuit Hoshino. But
I borrow a level 81 to clear the level 50 boss node for the current whatchamacallit.
I have a policy of not borrowing power characters. But I managed to clear the level 50 node anyway. It was pretty tight, but I did clear it. But yeah. Yeah, so that was the other thing. This week, Hieronymus is the boss that's up, which is basically, there's no real strategy required. You just have to balance your healing and your damage output correctly. And that's pretty much it. I had enough oomph to do the level 51, barely. And that was it. That was my limit. I couldn't go any further than that.
Yeah, I was
and I still had to
with the level 80 Hoshino.
I still had to do 2 passes, so because could get it down to about 140,000 left over, and then I'd have to cherry tap the last one off with another team.
I with a level 80 Hoshino, Swimsuit Hoshino, I can one tap it, but it is really tight, like 2 seconds margin of error tight.
I probably would have been able to womp it if I borrowed Swimsuit Hoshino. There wouldn't have been much problem there, I don't think. But since I have a policy of not doing that, yeah. Because I would rather engage in the team building exercise than just pick the most powerful meta servant that's available. And have to spend credits to do it as well. But yeah. What else? I watched this week the TV special for Fate Strange Fake, which has thankfully they did announce that they were doing it for reals, that they weren't going to leave it as a TV special. Because to do so would have basically enraged everybody and would have been leaving money on the table. Because everybody's been looking forward to it. This is basically somebody makes a copy of the Third Holy Grail War and sets it up in America, for nefarious reasons, I guess. It looks like the reason really doesn't have much to do with obtaining the Holy Grail, so much as setting up the circumstances to pull something else off entirely. But yeah, it gets off to a noisy and flashy start with the summoning of both Gil and Enkidu, who then immediately have it out because that's how they do. But yeah, there's not really much story in there because it's essentially just a promo for the real series. So it just introduces a bunch of the masters and a bunch of the servants, and I see flat Escardos is still a retard in his own unique way. But yeah, somehow he manages to use a toy as a catalyst and summon Jack the Ripper with it. Yet another incarnation of Jack the Ripper, since every Jack the Ripper is different.
Is this one wearing
This one's a shadow, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, the same Jack the Ripper is never summoned twice. There's a different Jack the Ripper every time. It's one of those other rules. Like how assassins are virtually always one of the Hassans. Jack the Ripper is always a different Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, because if you follow Jack's original story, and like no one knew for sure who Jack the Ripper actually was.
Yeah, and that's basically the central part of the character for this one. Like in the Apocryphal one, which is the one that got ported in part to FGO, is the Jack that represents the unborn children who were killed as a result of the environment in which Jack the Ripper took place.
Thus, those
as a
rather
phenomenon
odd ideas she had
about pants.
Yes.
And this one is the central focus of this one's character is the existential uncertainty generated by being just a phenomena and not an individual. And that's what this Jack the Ripper states as his goal for obtaining the Holy Grail, is to ask the Grail who he is, so that record will get etched in the throne, and the next Jack the Ripper to be summoned will have some semblance of identity.
Yeah, sounds like this Jack is more just the idea of Jack rather than an actual person.
But he's summoned as Berserker this time.
Aha.
Because there is an assassin, and the assassin appears to be a very unstable assassin. I think it's her story, if I recall correctly from my general knowledge, since they don't really introduce her, is she's a Hassan that didn't get to become Hassan. She learned all the different skills. She copied all the skills from the other Hassans, but didn't have anything of her own and was never able to actually become a Hassan.
Like the 101st Hassan or something.
I think she's like the 20-something, but
I don't know where she was in the hierarchy. But at any rate, it's interesting to see that they're actually going full force with the project. There's really no reason not to, because, like I said, we're leaving money on the table to do otherwise. But I don't know if the story's actually finished or not yet. That's the thing.
You can't go by the wiki. The wiki doesn't update.
Yeah, the wiki doesn't. Well, the wiki doesn't update, and it's also full of misinformation. Like, you need to read the wiki through the lens of having very solid Type Moon general knowledge to begin with, because people write fanon on there all the time for some reason.
Or they just because Fate is such a technical universe, or just the Naziverse in general is such a technical universe, they will get terms mixed up all the time.
Also, a lot of descriptions of phenomena percolate through the fandom that are based on misunderstandings and mistranslations and retcons, because Nasu does construct his world by setting up rules and then having hero characters break them, which causes people to try and come up with justifications within the rules, when all that Nasu was really doing was retconning the rules with the character. So yeah, so that's that. It was good. Don't know when the series is going to be, don't remember, but I'm looking forward to it anyway. Hopefully it will not take too long to show up. Oh, I don't like collection. There.
Okay, just kill the things until you get the things.
Highly descriptive.
Yes.
Alright, did I do anything else? I did watch one new anime, but I don't really feel like talking about it just yet because it was really banal and doesn't feel like worth the effort. So I'll roll it into something else when I've had more time to survey this season's anime, which all look quite awful, to be honest.
Yeah. There's another
Let's
Jujutsu
look-
Kaisen, but that's probably the only thing that's caught my attention so far.
Yeah, well, it's apparently it's essentially a background story arc. All of the manga readers are all excited about a arc that follows this one rather than this one in particular.
A bunch of them are really excited for this one too, though, because it features the OP dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're excited because all those people write lurid fanfic about him. But
Yes.
yeah, by and large, other than that, this season looks like another mess of banal isekai garbage. I was sort of amused to see that Yohane from Love Live got her own series this season. So if anybody remembers that season of Love Live, I think this is the second series. Yohane was the Chunibyo character. Basically, she had an extensive lore that she had concocted for herself about her being a fallen angel, etc. And this spin-off series that is airing this season is about her as a character in a fantasy world. So at least some portion of her delusions might be true. I don't know, or maybe she's a Chuny in that world too. Sort of hard to say. I haven't watched it, so yeah, I was sort of amused. I don't know whether or not I'll invest time in watching it, but I was amused to see that they were willing to take the joke that far. Apparently, it was a April Fool's joke. Was announced as an April Fool's joke originally.
Oh, okay, and they just got that sort of reaction from it?
And I guess they just decided that people enjoyed the idea so much that they would just go ahead and make it.
Yeah. I haven't invested really in anything in Love Life because it always just seemed to me as like a big blob of moe mush.
Well, it is a big blob of Moe Mush. That's all those idle games and idle stories are.
Yeah.
Except for Xenoglossia, which is just too weird for words.
Yes.
I was already attached to Idolmaster, so I didn't feel like having two idol animes rolling.
Yeah.
I
I've got to go
seriously
back
doubt I seriously doubt you're attached to Idolmaster when Love Live came out, because Love Live came out like a decade ago.
Yeah, it's no, it's
It's
I didn't
still
get,
going, isn't it?
I didn't touch the idol stuff until Idolmaster came out.
I think I've
But
watched grand total of 2 idol anime. One was Zombieland Saga, and the other one was your boy Kong Ming. Which is,
That counts.
I mean, he's making an idol, sort of. That's about as close as you're going to get with that sort of premise.
But yeah, so I'll go through a few series and see what they're like, but I don't have high hopes for this season. It looks really crummy, to be honest. I think that there was another season of Bungo Stray Dogs scheduled as well.
Yep.
I'm not sure about that one.
Got to catch up on
But
that.
I'm kind of-
because
Yeah, that ended on, I wouldn't call it a cliffhanger, but nothing was resolved at the end of the last season. Everything was still completely up shit's creek. So I want to know where the story will go next.
That story is dense, though. It's a lot to work through.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Isn't the vending machine isekai in this season?
Yes, it is. The sort of archetypical example of, oh, look how wacky we can be with our isekai.
I think now we've reached this point, it's time to call isekai dead and, make something else for a while. Please?
Yeah.
Please?
So stop, it's already dead.
You've made the joke.
authors,
Yeah,
it's
Can we call
really
it done
easy.
now?
You see that fantasy world you put together for your character to get isekai into? What if protagonist was just born into it naturally, like a
Yeah,
like a
you could write
normal
a
character.
fantasy story. That'd be great. And you don't even need to use any game mechanics.
No,
Yeah.
you don't.
You don't even have to hire a truck driver.
Like, well, that's the thing. The thing that really bewilders me is when they do just write a straight fantasy story, but they use game mechanics anyway.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, it adds a certain amount of easy familiarity for a certain audience, but at the cost of verisimilitude.
Yeah, unless
Like
it's-
everything about like the whole, like, for instance, Goblin Slayer was designed to be very dark, but everything is framed in game terms. But why?
Yeah.
Why should it be?
If you're going to do that, you better have a damn good reason why that's the case.
Like, they even have spell slots.
Yeah.
Like, we get it, guys. We like the Vidya too,
We do like the Vidya.
but not everything has to be based on Vidya.
I mean, you could argue that Goblin Slayer was based on tabletop since they used spell slots straight up.
You could.
We like tabletop too. Oh, Fern hit level 72.
Yes, I did. I still
We
need to
can
go
go
and get
to rank.
Bahamut too.
I feel motion sick just watching you.
Whee, I'm gonna puke.
We can move on to Ilmeg, because Ilmeg
Hang on a
is a better play.
Before we do
Well,
that, I
I'll
want to see how
be
many
on the
more I've got
board
to grind here.
I want to close my eyes so I can't see you.
Blah. That's okay. My UI is covering my character. I can't see what I am doing. Okay, I need to do another 15 here to finish it out. That can happen.
Yeah, we'll move on to Ilmeg. You'll be back at level 70 with another character.
Yes.
Anyway, I might leave it there.
All right. This is a good break point since
right.
we're changing zones, and I need to pee.
Me too.
All right.
So, here's some music, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Yes, and I continue to spin.
He's still making me queasy.
Spin.
I need to
Doing
try
your
and keep
best
you off
Garen
screen.
impression over there.
All right. Next fight's over this way anyway. That's enough spin.
So stuff might be pretty scaled here because there's a group of like 5 people running around.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
So we might try Amarang instead.
If everything's dying too quick.
Armoring's a lower level though, isn't it? And we've only got half the zone that we can use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just see how it goes.
Lahi.
If they continue to move around, the fates will eventually scale down.
Oh, can you please change mount?
Oh.
So we were at Vols Week still, I think.
No, I was ending my week.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, to segue from Vols Week, I can talk about my week with Blue Archive, I guess. So I made significant progress on Blue Archive story. Vol was way ahead of me, and like many chapters ahead of me, and I was way behind. I'd only done the first chapter of Foreclosure Task Force, and this week I had until Friday where I didn't want to start playing another game because I wouldn't be able to really get into it and attach to it if I was going to drop it as soon as Friday came out. So I decided just to go through the Blue Archive story. So Foreclosure Task Force story, pretty good the whole way through. It's a good introductory story. It's not going to blow your mind or anything, but it was one of the better introductory stories for a mobile game that I've seen in recent memory. So I don't know how much you remember the Foreclosure Task Force story. But
I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that we did it. Like, we haven't been playing this game for a terribly long time.
yeah. So my memory it's a coin flip on whether something sticks in my brain these days. So yeah, what you call it? I liked it. I liked all the foreshadowing it did about the bigger themes of the story, and the fact they actually came back later, like the credit card and Gematria, and all that was very nice. But and it set up the mass swimsuit gang, which is
Your
the
favorite
best-
thing in the world.
the best running joke in that game.
Let me guess. They wear masks and swimsuits, and that's it.
No, that's
No.
that's the joke. They don't wear swimsuits at all. They just call themselves the Masked Swimsuit Gang.
Oh, yeah, that's even better.
Yeah, they just wear masks. This is the thing. What's the name of their school? How do you pronounce their school's name? The Foreclosure Girls.
Abydos.
Yeah, it's the thing. The Abydos Girls. It's their fake criminal gang side where they flip on their masks and they go rob banks.
If you actually do rob a bank,
I guess Eden Treaty Chapter 3 pretty much cements it as a thing that's now official and can be called upon as an entity in the universe. So yeah, it was a good introductory arc. Next was the video game girls learning how to love video games. It was mostly a beat story. Just have fun with the video gaming girls, and I get the feeling they localized it as Eris, but I'm almost positive it was meant to be Alice.
it was meant to be Alice. Yeah, but there's an argument. There's an extant argument over whether or not it was localized wrong, or whether they felt like actually just calling her Alice would be too on the nose.
Yeah. So I get the feeling they're setting something up with her, but apparently that doesn't start playing out for a while. So yeah. Next was Eden Treaty. The character I thought was gonna drive me nuts and break it for me actually wound up saving it and making the whole arc better. I always like Hifumi because Hifumi is fun. She's a normal girl who has weird quirks. Her most notable one that everybody comments on and she evangelizes about is the Pororo plushies collection she has, and how much she loves the character in the franchise and the in-universe ugly duck thing that Pororo is.
Yeah, this is sort of like in universe their Hello Kitty type of thing,
Yeah,
like Sanrio characters.
Yeah, she just thinks Pororo is the bee's knees, and will talk to anybody about how wonderful Pororo is. Her other one doesn't get explored here, and is only in her swimsuit outfit. But you can see elements of that personality come through, especially near the end, where she has just this incredible fondness for things she gets attached to, including a tank in her swimsuit version. Now that doesn't apply to the Hifumi in Eden Treaty, but she makes a good protagonist, and you get to see her obsessive nature about things in the story as it goes.
If you read her character bio, it basically describes her as a normal girl who cares about her friends and is a good listener, and as a result gets drawn into every kind of ridiculous crap that she gets pulled into by those friends.
Yeah.
So she makes quite a good point of view character because she's normal, but she's just a little bit too helpful for her own good.
Yeah. So there's that, and then you got who else is in that club? You got the terrorist, who insists on planting landmines and digging trenches everywhere, and you think she's just doing it for most of the arc until the very end. Well, I say the very end. I mean the first 3 Eden Tree chapters, which are functionally one story. And until the very end, you think she just likes digging trenches and planting mines, and that's just how she do?
There's a lot of momentum in the story which is derived from people not actually asking other people what their motivations are.
Yeah. So Sensei's K to just let her go with it and doesn't ask her about it.
Well, it's hardly remarkable considering the sorts of people in Sensei's social circle.
Yeah. And she has a really good story arc in Eden Treaty. I enjoyed her little bit. And then you have, I'm saving the best for last. You have the BL girl. I use her all the time, and I forget her name. She's on my main explosive team. Yeah. Who I didn't really enjoy in the story very much. Her character kind of fell flat the whole way through, but she doesn't have that much screen time compared to everybody else. So it's
she's also not key to the plot. She is actually being used by the other people in the plot as a plot device, so to speak.
Yeah.
So she's not really an actor in her own right.
Yeah. So yeah, she's kind of whatever. You can take her or leave her. None of her scenes are bad, and she acts as a good snap to reality that the entire world isn't as degenerate as the fourth member. Every time the fourth member does something questionable. So the fourth one is the Thought. And what's her name?
I don't know if she's a Thought, because the thing is that the Thought traditionally means a woman who uses sex appeal as their one-size-fits-all solution to every problem. Whereas I think that Hanako just enjoys being a perv.
Yeah, I think
she's just a libertine.
I think the impression I got from her was that she probably wasn't initially that way, but she had so much fun doing it as a coping mechanism that she kind of became the mask a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to tell, because if you look at the way her backstory is discussed by her and other characters, it sounds like she's always been doing this crap.
Yeah, so Hanako is a character that gets busted and winds up in the Makeup Work Club, which are the focus characters for this arc, and is failing because it starts off with she's just really dumb, and she scores a 2 on her first exam, and she got busted walking around in church in her swimsuit instead of attending church in normal clothes.
Okay.
And she appears not to understand how it could possibly be a problem.
And she will make a very long and almost convincing argument as to why.
But not convincing, because you just have to remind yourself what it is that she actually did.
Does that argument start or end with because she's a perv?
Yeah. There's a lot about how liberating it is.
Aha. So in not in so many words, but yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
essentially.
her job as a character type is, as far as this group dynamic is concerned, is to be the hoe troll who just trolls the other girls by being a super hoe.
Well, I mean, you say that, but she's actually very effective at using it to lead others by the nose.
Yeah, she does use it to misdirect people from her pretty good and get them to go and do things that she wants them to. Because she initially doesn't know the stakes of the Makeup Work Club, because she doesn't know that they're all going to get expelled, that you find out right away until much later. So and then you find out she's sandbagging.
Sandbagging something wicked.
Yeah. So I just liked Hifumi's reaction to their first makeup score, and she sees Haruna's test score, and she goes, 2? Not like a 2 out of 100 was her score. And she was steadily doubling her score as the Makeup Work Club took more mock exams. She's like, I'll get there eventually. It'll be okay. And then she finds out, oh wait, all the other girls are going to fail. I got to stop sandbagging now. And then she's like scoring perfect grades on everything.
Yeah, when her score is consistently doubling, you know something's going on there.
One of her scores is a 69 exactly.
Yeah, see, she did that one on purpose.
Yes, she did. So you follow the adventures of the Makeup Work Club as they attempt to meet the increasingly unreasonable demands and deal with the conspiracy that formed the Makeup Work Club to begin with, and the reason they're all actually stuck in that club.
The thing is, if she got a 69, it means that she didn't just know the answers to all the questions, she also knew the entire marking schedule.
Yes.
Yeah. So she knew exactly where to get enough points knocked off to knock off the 31 points she needed to get that 69. And I really enjoyed their dynamic as time went on. I wasn't sold at first, but after a few chapters and they got the main story and the conspiracy established, and you get to see Haruna just torture these poor other girls in this club. It was a good fun time.
They had a symposium.
A swimsuit symposium. Yeah, so I really like that arc.
That was really a showcase of Haneko's powers of persuasion, really.
Yeah. I like how when the protagonist meets the head prefect of Gehenna, Hina, later in the arc, she's questioning him about, did you really tell me everything that was going on in the Makeup Work Club? Because you're giving a lot of favor to Trinity. He's like, do you want to know about the symposium, the swimsuit symposium? And that's like your only response? I don't think you have another option.
Imagine just Sensei's eye twitching.
Oh no, he or she seems to just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, just rolling with it is basically what you do a lot of the time in a lot of different circumstances. Basically, the most of the misfits are in the Makeup Work Club, but as far as Gehenna's concerned, basically every club in Gehenna is like that.
Right.
The Gehenna girls are a bit different.
Yeah,
the sensei has to have a pretty level-headed disposition in order to not go mad.
Yeah, to deal with the tomfoolery.
I did find the Sensei did kind of bounce back awfully quick from nearly starving to death at the start of the second arc.
They're used to it.
That was like Sensei's second day on the job.
Yeah, but he spends his money very unwisely.
True. So that's about as far into the story as I managed to get so far. It was just that.
Yeah, it gets fun.
Yeah, the tutorial does not do it any favors. I'll give it that.
I particularly enjoy the cameos from the Gourmet Research Society.
Oh, just showing up trying to steal a fish and eat it.
Yeah, well, and then later assisting the Makeup Work Club again by staging a jailbreak.
Yeah,
as you do.
Because of course they're in prison again.
Yeah, because they do. And then at the climax of the arc, though, Hifumi steals the show with the return of the mass swimsuit gang. And Terrorist Girl's like, okay, you don't have to try to relate to me by telling me you're actually the ringleader of some crazy criminal organization. I get it. You're just a normal girl, and that's okay. And then the rest of the mass swimsuit gang shows up for the final battle behind her while Hifumi has her stupid paper mask on. And it's like, yes!
You seem
Wonderful.
pretty hype.
Yeah, I think I sent a screenshot
pretty
of the
hype.
ball that just said, we doing this! So, Eden Treaty 1 through 3, I really liked. It was a lot of fun. And the last one I did was Rabbids Chernobog. So the SRT, this is the story with the SRT girls, the special ops group that their job seems to be dealing with the major problems and watching the Watchmen of Kivados.
Yeah, they're basically internal affairs.
Yeah. So they're all elite spec ops, but their school got closed down. So you got the last remaining group of four students there, camping out in the park that they initially tried to stage, we'll call it a protest in, although it was more like an armed occupation. And I didn't really attach to most of the girls in this arc, except for the trash can girl. And that's because her battle sprite is so adorable. She's when you win the battle with Trash Can Girl, she is literally in the trash can.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering how she managed to even get along in class.
Oh, something to be said for following instructions to the T, I suppose, because that seems to be what they set up as her main problem. That, and she's social anxiety, like super neurotic nut. But the other girls were just very abrasive compared to the other characters for much longer in the other arc. So it took a long time for them to start warming up to Sensei and not just acting like little brats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are all first years. Like, they are younger than the rest of the cast.
Yeah. So I eventually attached to him, but it took the whole arc to do it. And so far is probably my least favorite of the arcs.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like they should have just positioned the flood scene a bit earlier, because that's sort of where things start to turn around on that. But everything else up until that point is just treading water, no pun intended.
Yeah, you could cut most of the communist robot hippies. And
I do like the gag. I just feel like it went on a bit long.
Yeah, it went on for like 3 or 4 episodes, and he kept coming back and making cameos.
Communist robot hippie.
Yeah, the communists are mad. The communist robot hippie is mad that all the free bento that the convenience stores normally throw out is being taken by the girls that are currently camping out in the park because they're just going to the convenience store.
Robot hippie, then.
Yeah, so he got it from the dumpsters, but they just go to the convenience store and like, hey, we'll take your expired bento for you so you ain't got to waste trash space. And they're like, okay. And so he doesn't get his free bento anymore.
And he is exactly as sincere about practicing what he preaches as your average communist.
Nah.
As in, he is the most blatant hypocrite in the history of hypocrites. So yeah, I didn't touch that arc very much, but I'm looking forward to...
It's clearly the introduction to a bigger story, though.
Yeah. So looking forward to starting Eden Treaty 4. It'll be after the game I'm currently playing. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
It's definitely... Eden Treaty 4 has a very fierce feeling to it. And I don't mean that just means you grind and grind and grind and grind. I mean, it basically is it's a chapter that is about resolving the hang-ups that were left unresolved.
Yeah. So yeah, there's still a few things that need answering about the situation with the things that went kaboom, and the people that are that fled at the end. And we need to see what they're up to. But yeah, that'll be fun. And yeah, I think I'll leave Blue Archive there, unless you got anything particular you wanted to comment on. Now
Yeah,
that we don't.
I think that there's another discussion to be had when you're finished with Eden Treaty 4, because I couldn't really follow the thread of some of the characters. Like Nagisa in the first 3 chapters of Eden Treaty really comes across as unlikable, but I sort of developed affection for her relatively quickly in the 4th chapter when she was, no longer trying to be clever, basically, because it was very obvious everything had fallen through.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of what drives Eden Treaty is people not being honest with each other, and generally speaking, everybody trying to be cleverer than everybody else.
So yeah, communication issues the arc, but for I liked the thing I liked most about Eden Treaty was they never let the comedy go, but they didn't let it overshadow the serious moments that are happening. But it never went away. Even at the climax of the arc, the swimsuit gang comes back. Like they still have fun and have silly moments throughout the whole story. So
Yeah,
it keeps a more smooth, not consistent, but smooth tone throughout it.
I wonder if it's actually a plot point, and I can't decide whether it's intended or not. But the impression that I got is that the girls of Abydos are, on average, ridiculously strong compared to the average girls in other schools.
It does seem to be that way, and that they can just go toe to toe with the prefect team, and Hoshino's still not taking it seriously.
Yeah, 'cause it seems that there are only a couple of power players per school, and everybody else is pretty normal. But Abydos, everybody seems to be a cut above the average at Abydos.
It's like each school has a power level it can distribute amongst its students, and because Abydos is a dead school and there's only 5 girls left, they all got a huge chunk of the pie.
It could be, because I mean Trinity's just got basically Mika and what's her name, Tsurugi, and Millennium basically just has Neru, and Gehenna has Hina for the most part, although it's implied that Aru is nearly as strong as Hina, except that she's such a freaking goofball that she never really can apply it in a constructive way.
Yeah. Maybe she'll get there one day. We'll get to see
And it's
her
also
finally become the
implied-
supervillain.
It's also implied that that Haruna's quite powerful, but for the opposite reason, in that she just doesn't hesitate to commit acts of terrorism because she sees it as only right to destroy a restaurant that doesn't serve her good enough food.
Yeah. So yeah, we already talked about the stuff with the adults and how that's playing out during your week.
Their participation in the story, Gematria's participation in the story as a whole, will rack up another notch in Eden Treaty 4.
Yeah, because I do like the overall so far what they're telling the overall messages. It's not a uncommon message, but it's one that's not told enough to be completely worn down, and that an adult is somebody that takes responsibility. Whereas instead of a coming of age story, we just have an adult taking responsibility and showing the kids how it's done.
Yeah, it's the idea of a role model that sets an example, as opposed to the self-made man type character that is so common in media these days, where everybody's a blank slate and they discover virtue de novo without ever having to learn it from somebody.
Yeah. So it's I want to see where they're going to take that and if they can stick with it the whole way.
I don't know if they know that that's the story they're telling, though.
Yeah,
because oftentimes these are the sorts of stories that people tell without realizing it.
Yeah, well, if it got written in there, it's a core part of some writer on the team's idea about the world. So it could stick the whole way through. So yeah, looking forward to more of that. And when I finish Eden Treaty 4, and I got one more chapter of the Video Game Girls, right?
Yeah.
We'll go over the story in total then. So yeah, that is the stuff that I can bounce off other people for.
Right.
And yeah, so
that looms large in your mind.
Yeah, I like me some Trails. I love the Trails universe. Um, so I did not take the Trails like any fandom. Uh, Whenever a new release is coming out for a series you like, if there is a fandom for it and they are the only ones that are realistically going to have any takes at all before release, uh, take their opinions with a grain of salt.
Cough, dingle, rumpus, cough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're going to either absolutely hate it for reasons that are not even on the same planet as you, or they're going to unconditionally love it because it's part of their pet franchise. So I'm not a Super Trails fanatic, but I do really, really like the Trails universe in games. And I want to see more of what's going on. So I didn't pay attention to any of the people saying things about the upcoming Trails into Reverie. So the game released on Friday. I came home during my lunch break, made me a sandwich, and went downstairs, bought the game, and started installing, and went back to work. And then I came back and started playing. And I have crammed as many hours as I possibly can into it. It's going to say 20 hours because I accidentally left it on when I went to bed. But
As an aside, in the lead up to launch, I saw somebody online asking if they needed to play Trails of Azure before
they absolutely do.
this one, and the replies were like, if you played Cold Steel, you don't need to play Azure because you already got spoiled on everything that happens there.
So
Ooh.
the answer to that, even if you only played the Cold Steel games and you don't care about the Azure spoiler part so much, you still are not going to understand a lick of what's going on or why anything is significant without the context of what happens in Azure, or more specifically Zero and Azure, because it takes place over both. A whole third of the story takes place in Crossbell and is about Crossbell finally having enough and its citizenry actually deciding on independence themselves after 2.5 years of Erebonian occupation, and a century before that of Erebonian cavalry fighting over them and trying to exert control over them. So they're just like, yeah, no, we're finally going to become independent. And this right on the heels of the events of Cold Steel 4, which are involved a whole mobilization of the Erebonian and Calvert armies, but was a 48-hour war at the climax. So things go south because there are still armed forces everywhere, and apparently some people took objection to this because at the signing ceremony a month later, where Crossbell is going to become officially independent, one of the villains from the Cold Steel franchise just shows up, says, "Yep, I'm unifying all of Zemuria and using Crossbell as a base, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." And he bodies the SSS after they had no trouble dealing with him in Cold Steel 4, and they're all like, what a fuh. So things start going south very quickly. But if you don't have the context of why independence now is finally a good idea for Crossbell, the entirety of Lloyd's speeches and monologues and talk about the politics of Crossbell during his arc, which I've only played the first chapter of, is going to go right over your head.
So what is like, as the apparently uninvolved party, I guess, what was LeBeul's attitude towards Crossbell independence?
They didn't really care. They mostly used it as a glorified trade hub and bank. They interacted with it, but it was too far away from LeBeul for them to exert any influence over it.
Because it seemed like everybody else, every other player was looking for a piece of the pie. So
Yeah,
I sort of wondering whether LeBeul even had anything to say about it.
Yeah, LeBeul, generally, they want... they're too far away to influence Crossbell. So they can't... back before it started making bids for independence, they couldn't really do anything about it. They had no skin in the game because they're just geographically too far away, and orbital technology is still developing over the course of the games. They only recently got airships and cars, and they're now building the internet. So they just they didn't have a real good way to just do anything with Crossbell. So they're like, okay, yeah, if y'all go independent, that'll be great for us because we won't have to fight with Erebonia and Calvard over the resources y'all have and all the trade stuff y'all have, because they wanted just to do trade with Crossbell because it's an international hotspot for that kind of thing, and is an incredibly wealthy city.
And they control the biggest fleet of trade airships that there are.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we want to keep doing business, and Erebonia and Calvert are kind of in the way, and we can't do anything to directly control you. So yeah, go for it. We can't support you, obviously, because Erebonia will run us over if we do that. But we'll cheer you on from the sidelines. So that's about as far as Liberal got with that. But yeah, the story is divided into 3 routes. You have Lloyd's route, which is all in Crossbell, the whole thing, and is about Crossbell's regaining Crossbell's independence on the ground and seeing what happens there. You have Reen's route, which thankfully so far has not been about how big can Reen make his harem. In fact, the game, if you don't carry over save data from Cold Steel 4, will just tell you to pick a canon waifu. So there's
Who
less.
are the choices? How do you put that in the game?
You pick any of the girls
Just any.
that were.
Like, does it just give you a menu and say, establish
Yeah.
your history here?
Yeah, if you don't have save data to carry over, it just says, okay, here's a list of all the girls that were romanceable in Cold Steel 4. Pick one.
Choose your waifu.
Yeah, because I think that is a pretty good indicator that is a plot tumor on storytelling, and they know it.
Yeah, and they can't get rid of it because there are people who got attached to it.
Yeah. So
Tell me the sister isn't on the list.
she's on the list. But if you pick any other girl than her, the only person still trying to ship them is Alphen. And that's because Alphen is a high school girl. So Reen's story focuses on him reestablishing his position as a teacher after all the events of Cold Steel 4, and taking his students out and looking for a missing certain character that is spoilers, and their new wife, who have gone missing, while also dealing with the intersecting issue of, there's been a coup in Crossbell, and this is directly related. But they're stuck in Heimdall in Erebonia, so they're in a different part of the continent, but still working on the same problems. And then you have what they C's route, and this is not going to mean anything to people that haven't played Cold Steel, but C is the initial of that the leader of the Imperial Liberation Front went by in Cold Steel 1 and 2. And you figure out who he is in Cold Steel 1 and 2. But it is very obviously not that C this time, because he's been on your team for a while now.
You know, I can't help but feel a tiny bit of disappointment that that there is no route which is just Estelle going through and solving problems with a big stick.
Yeah, she's with Lloyd up in Crossbell. Haven't done much with her yet. I encountered her, and Joshua being Estelle and Joshua, and they were having trouble ordering ice cream.
Gotta get that bickering going.
Oh no, it's they've gone past bickering and are like, please don't let people see us being nice to each other in public. That's just super embarrassing.
Oh.
So there's actually a response from the developer on that, where he said originally, instead of C's story, they were going to do an Estelle route with the Liberal cast that had made reappearances in the Cold Steel games, but the problem was by the end of Sky the Third, Estelle's story was kind of done, and if they brought her back, they would just be opening up a whole new canon story with Estelle.
Well, they would either have to do that, or she would end up being a Mary Sue.
Yeah,
because she's sort of like she's got her shit together now.
yeah. She's her and Joshua got a good thing going, and are now some of the heavy hitters, and they seem to be fairly stable now.
I just like seeing her still solve problems.
I do too, but she works good with when she shows up in the Cold Steel games. Well, she only shows up in 4, but she's just like, yeah, everybody keeps saying all these big, crazy philosophical things until they get hit with the big end of the stick.
Yeah. Her solution to the problem is step 1, stick. Is problem solved? No. Stick again.
She is the only character. No, Reen also gets it. That has a 5S damage rating on her S-Craft. Her stick hit hard.
You do not mess with the stick.
Yeah. So that is the main gameplay routes. But there's a quirk to C's route, in that there's a bit of not required reading, but very heavily recommended reading in a in-game novel called 3 and 9. They've been doing this for a while, where the in-game novels will have characters that make appearances in the game, and they become real characters. This apparently was not the original plan, according to Kondo, but it just kind of happened, and he liked the idea of it, so he just kept rolling with it. With Reverie, for C's route has only 4 characters in it. It has C, the 2 characters from the 3 and 9 novel, the titular 3 and 9, and Girl in a Box.
What?
Spoilers if I tell you her name.
Right.
So, the half your cast on that route is their entire backstory is in an in-game novel series. Now, this can be a bit of a slog if you're not one to read actual novels very much anymore, like I am. However, I managed to find one guy. There's a bunch of people that have like amateur readings that are like some streamer doing a read through of it that's really bad and awful on YouTube as a quote unquote audiobook of the in-game novels, but they're really, really bad. But I found one guy who had like 26 subscribers and 180 views on his video. And the dude is better than some of the professionals I've heard on Audible.
Better than the entire cast of Worm.
That ain't hard, because that was literally
That was just
I need to make
people.
It has the Queen arc, narrated by somebody's girlfriend.
Hyperbole.
Yeah, hyperbole. No hyperboles in this one, but yeah, he's actually really good. There's no faffing about. No, this is who I am. This is what I do. Blah blah. No, just straight to the book. No ads. No anything. Just reads it. The characters, he gives the characters consistent and varied voices that all fit, even if his range could use some work. And he just reads it competently with a good quality microphone. So I posted in I think Video Games a link to his channel, because the poor dude deserves more than his 26 subscribers, of which I am one. After that. So I left him a comment encouraging him, because I felt so bad for him. This guy needs more attention in the Trails community. But
I expect that there will be people going looking now that this new game's out to supposedly cap the story.
Yeah, his views on this particular novel have doubled. Because he's now up to 229 views. So because it is very highly recommended reading. It tells you the whole backstory of these two characters and their background as former assassins who went straight and broke away from their organization by killing their boss.
As you do.
And then swearing he would be the last person they kill. So their setup, their story, how their combat operates from the novel is kind of important, because how their combat operates introduces the first real hard gameplay change we've seen as while stuck with this with the trail system of combat, where the way they fight matches the way they play and they act in the novel. So, like, one of the characters, he has the biggest example. The other one just has random crap with teddy bears. But the boy character has a has two swords that he can hook into each other to make a big single sword. And this sword's gimmick is, while it's in two-sword mode, if he hits a target, he can mark it. And in-game, this gives you a % chance to mark a target on normal attacks, and some of his crafts are guaranteed to put a mark on the target. And what this does is, if a target has a mark and you use any craft from him that has the sword in the two-handed mode, he will get an auto crit that deals bonus damage as extra magical art damage that gives you a free follow-up opportunity with the Cold Steel combat system, which is a big deal because it gives you bonus BP to use on the really, really powerful stuff. But all this, the reason he works like this isn't described in the game at all. That's all in the novel. The fact that he has to hit something with the two small swords first, and then he has to click them together and whack it with the big thing. So, yeah, you gotta... I recommend reading the novel, or at least putting the audiobook on while you're doing some grinding on something, if you plan to play Reverie. It is very helpful to understanding who the heck these two characters are. And they are fun characters. I like... Girl in a Box has effectively no memories when she gets out of the box, because she's been cooped up in a box, and memory erasure apparently comes standard when you get cooped up in a box for a long time in the Trails universe. It's not the first time this has happened. And her character so far seems to be, she decides how trustworthy something is based on how cute she thinks its name is, and this includes people, establishments, items, you name it. And she will rate everything's cuteness on a scale of 1 to 100, and that will determine how much she trusts them. So, don't know much about her character yet and where she's actually going, but she's fun so far. So, the story, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I'm not that far to begin with. But it's fairly good so far. I'm excited to see where it's going. But there is a elephant in the room that is going to make or break this game that I have not had the opportunity to dive very deep into. Mostly because the first time you go there, you're not allowed to go very deep into it. And that's the entire other half of the game. There's the main story, and then there's the True Reverie Corridor. True Reverie Corridor is a randomized dungeon of stratums that after you clear each stratum, you can just warp up to the next highest one. That,
Item World.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder as you go up. And it has all kinds of quirks to it. And you can take any character. Now, you have to get them out of the gacha first. The ones that are in the game, in the main story, will eventually make their way to the corridor and be usable, naturally. But all the ones that were playable in the previous games, at any point in the Cold Steel games, and even a few returners from the Crossbell games and the Sky games, are playable in the True Reverie Corridor.
Have you had any villains in your party who are now dead, for example?
You can get quote unquote dead people.
Right.
But this is the way this is presented is that the characters you pull out of the gacha to be used are simulacra of the real person.
Okay.
They have all their memories and abilities, but they're not the actual person, because the True Reverie Corridor is like in a separate dimension. But this means you have 50 plus characters of equipment and quartz to manage.
Oof.
Now, this would be a lot worse, and I was genuinely worried about this, if they didn't completely overhaul the in-game UI and put a whole bunch of quality of life features in for making this manageable. First, they have an auto-equip button for both quartz and equipment now. So you don't have to faff around with accessories and quartz and get it super tight anymore. You just have to... If a character just needs to be good enough to do the missions they're required for, and otherwise they're going to be on the back bench, you can put them on the auto-equip. And usually so far it has cobbled together something usable with what I've got, unless I just literally don't have any more physical attack accessories to equip on people. And then it'll start just throwing random crap when I tell it to prioritize physical attack. So the other quirk of the True Reverie Corridor is you unlock character episodes, also from the Gacha at random, that flesh out characters and fill in backstory holes for a bunch of side characters. And even the main cast, with one of the ones I unlocked, it filled in a whole lot of what Randy's deal with the girl he likes in the Crossbow Guardian Force is like, and how they're probably going to get together by the end of the series. But you have to pull these stories from the Gacha by exploring True Reverie Corridor. So this place better be fun the whole way through. Otherwise, this is going to start to drag really fast. So once I have more to report on that, I'll tell you how it goes, and I actually understand the mechanics of the place a little better. But it's how good this True Reverie Corridor system is going to make or break this game, because it's a full half of the game. Now, the people that love the gameplay of Trails absolutely love Trails into Reverie. Back when it was called Hajimari, they loved it to death because you could use so many characters and you had so many options for who you can use, and all the randomization in the dungeons means you can keep running it over and over, and all that good stuff. I've not heard a whole lot of things about the story, so I hope they're going somewhere with it. I hope they fix a lot of problems that Cold Steel 4 left us hanging with, but we will see. I just have to finish playing the game. So I've only had a day, and half of my playtime on Steam is me leaving the game open while I went to sleep. So I'm probably about 10 hours in, I think. I marathoned it pretty hard on release day as soon as I got home from work, and played it a good bit today. So yeah, we will see. I will come back to y'all when I know more and made further progress. But so far, I'm liking it. It has potential. I'm a little worried about the True Reverie Corridor, because, well, it is fun so far and could continue to be fun, and there's still a whole lot of tutorial unlocks that show that's got a lot more depth coming. It's going to have to hold my attention for a while. So we'll see if it can pull it off. It's not impossible. It can do it. But we will see.
All right. Shall we move
And
into
that's,
a bit of news then, shall we?
Yep, that's all I got for my week, is that 2 bits of media.
All right. News probably won't take too long because there's not a whole lot this week. It's been
All right.
a lot of little things.
Anything jump out to you of the stuff we posted, Fern? Because I've been rambling for a while.
Honestly, not especially this year. Week.
Well, this year, but
This year in particular, either. But I mean, I've been keeping an eye on Star Wars: The Old Republic. I love that game. So there is a bit of news on that front, and that is that they are split off now from BioWare and are now under a new studio called Broadsword Games.
yeah.
Well, the only thing that game ever had going for it was its writing.
Yes.
So
mechanically, it was like a cheap rip of Neverwinter Nights 2. It was the same engine. Yeah, it was same engine.
No,
are we not talking about the same game here?
Yeah, it was. SWTOR used the Hero engine. They didn't use whatever KOTOR or Neverwinter Nights used.
I'm thinking KOTOR. Never mind. But
yeah, this
also
is
a good game.
This is what.
But we had our fun with SWTOR as well, not KOTOR. We also had fun with KOTOR. But it's gonna be interesting to see what happens now that it's out from under EA's tentacles.
Well, even if it is out from under EA, which I'm rather dubious of.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, this is, to me, seems like a non-change, because the old writers who worked on the story, I'm pretty sure they left already. And that was all the game.
Well, the success, I'm not talking about the original story, though. What people had reported since was that the plot arcs that they've gone through since have been good. They've been very solid and entertaining. The problem has always been that the volume of content is always too low as far as story is concerned, because the story is the only good content. There's not enough of it.
Mm-hmm. Like gameplay wise, it's still fairly rote. So
Yeah, well, gameplay wise, it had a lot of shoes.
Well, they totally revamped the gameplay and the character structures and all of that. I don't know what it's like now, but
yeah.
So yeah, the fact that gives you the option to jump the fence, as it were, and go and experience the other side story as well with the same character, it's kind of nice.
No, you kill one more.
I haven't played any of it since we finished way back in the day.
Yeah,
I don't really have any intention of going back either. Like, I have to stick to the punishment that I administered for choosing a really retarded monetization scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that free to play model is just it was super aggressive. Punishing, and it was more to the point. It was super insulting to people that had paid and bought the game and supported it.
Yeah, mind you, by today's standards, it's fairly tame.
No. There's one thing. There are a number of things, but one thing in particular, escrow.
Oh yeah, the escrow.
Yeah, your dosh is locked up. Your items that you earned are locked up.
You couldn't buy a mount without accessing your escrow.
Like that was designed to be abusive to free to players.
Yeah.
And was actively disrespectful of whatever effort they had previously put in when they were paying the subscription. Because it's like, oh well, you're paying a subscription. We're going to change the game now. It's going to be free to play now. Except now we're taking away all of the things that you had until you give us money again. Like we're just going to hold it hostage.
And then even if you do treat it as a new subscription system, you now have to deal with the convoluted free to play interface and hooks everywhere that are going to make what you used to be able to do with a single button click way more cumbersome.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see the story, I still just see no reason to go back.
Even if you say, oh, things are worse now with monetization schemes, I think that's not really true in one sense of the word, because I think that the problem with modern monetization schemes is the amount of psychological tricks that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what was used in SWOTA was just conventional blackmail.
Yeah, this was a hostage situation.
Yeah, it was
like we've got your stuff in your dosh. You're gonna pay us, or you're not getting it back.
Like that's evil, but it's evil in a straightforward way. They aren't trying to manipulate you to make you think that they're actually doing you a favor.
Yes, they were just straight up stealing from you like that.
Whereas the problem now is all of the little tricks and traps that they use to try and convince you that it's a good idea to do this and it's a good idea to do that, and the battle passes and all this stuff. Like they've gotten more cunning since.
Sneaky, yes.
They don't just like hold their hand out and look at you expectantly.
Beat you over the head a little bit until you get the hint.
Man, remember when, if a video game was good, if it was an MMO, you just keep paying the sub as long as it was still good. And then
yeah, that's what we do with Final Fantasy.
and then remember in single player games when you just buy the video game and maybe a year or two down the line you get an expansion that was full of like 20-30 hours more content, and then you'd pay for that and you'd be done.
Hasn't there been like a bunch of debacles lately about people losing their hardcore Diablo 4 characters because Blizzard decided to do an unplanned server restart?
Yep, saw that happening on the first few weeks. I saw a bunch of people like that.
I know there's been a few who have lost it to just random bullshit and bugs. Including the first one to hit max level, I think, lost their character that way.
I didn't. This is a tangent and a half, and I didn't talk about this one week. Right. But just because I was curious, I put on the Diablo 4 story on the other monitor to see how bad this could possibly be. And it is just terrible.
You've got a lot.
Yeah, I've seen people saying that, praising it as like a return to form, but I'm like, no, this smells of shill to me.
The only reason they're really saying that is because they're comparing it to the Diablo 3 story.
Diablo 3 a story?
Yes. And it was awful.
Yeah.
But I only got as far as the desert, but I didn't notice any storytelling on the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just bad. I don't know how anybody can praise that game's story. It's I don't even know how to describe how bad it is.
Well, it's a traditional new Blizzard story, so it's going to be complete garbage.
Yeah,
They don't have any writers left.
I'm not really sure why they're bothering with the story beyond what it was in Diablo 1 and 2. It's like, there be Diablo, go fight. There's a bit of something Herodrum for flavour, but go fight.
Yeah, but the thing is that a rudimentary story is fine. A bad story insults your intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah. The Diablo 4 story, the biggest thing that stood out was how many just completely random decisions the protagonist would make. Like, I would have to double back because I was doing something else at the time. I wasn't putting my full attention in this and go, huh? Did I miss something? No, they're just being dumb and doing this random thing because they can't think of anything else and getting lucky. Or in getting unlucky because they're always a step behind the bad guy, and the bad guy functionally wins in the end.
To be fair, Diablo 2 happens because the Diablo 1 hero embeds a soul crystal of a demon in his forehead.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the hero for Diablo 1 has both the personality and intellect of Pavement, so I'm not really sure.
The dude is about as smart as a brick.
Yes. Mind you, I'm doing the same sort of thing in Titan Quest. Is run up, hit a thing, annoy Medea, but she didn't think things through.
Yeah, the difference is Blizzard's trying to make the story of Diablo 4 a selling point when it's just bad. And the only people that I could see liking this are people that are drunk on copium.
Copium.
Well, that's the entire Diablo fan base at this point.
That's a Blizzard fan base.
They've got nothing but copium.
So yeah, tangent over. That was just it.
Okay. So yeah, Swirtor. We'll see what happens. Probably won't go back, but yeah.
Yeah, I just
I think
it ship has sailed.
We they huts in tiny hats.
No, that was fine. There was nothing wrong with that. Those fights were better than the ones in WoW at the time.
Yeah.
The problem was that they drew their line in the sand with their really interesting bosses that were really challenging, and then deciding that actually no, we don't want to go that route. We want to nerf everything instead.
Yeah, let's just make things way too easy and boring, or way too hard and overly complicated.
Well, I can deal with a game that has hard in game easier than I can with one that makes me fall asleep.
Not
if it's hard,
you're relying on other people.
Well, in an MMO context, these games are, aside from the 20-man raids, and even then the 20-man raids, you can eventually get there. I mean, this is a thing that you figure out if you've been in a moderately successful raid guild before. You can get there eventually.
Yeah.
It's just it'll be something to work towards. But if the in game is bad, or not, or too easy, and just non-existent, you just don't have anything to do.
Yeah. Oh no, angry butterflies.
Yeah, you made a lot of butterfly friends there.
I did.
Why do you always troll the butterflies?
Because they're pretty. So I got smash.
So yeah. There's that one.
All right.
So I can touch on this next one because I thought this was funny. This is also a way I can make fun of real world politics and make fun of the French.
Okay.
So France is having shoes at the moment.
When is
Wow, France is always having shoes.
Yeah, their shoes are on fire, for more fire than usual this time. Enough to make the national news and stay in it for a while.
Yeah,
and so,
like the burning down of the cathedral.
Yeah, that's
apparently not important enough to ever find out who was responsible.
Yeah, they have no idea. We'll just never know.
I'm still salty about that.
But yeah, kind of like cocaine in the White House. We just don't know. So they've been on fire, and so Emmanuel Macron, the genuine idiot, it seems to be, that runs France at the moment, came out and pulled a Jack Thompson and said, obviously it's the video games that are making people. I don't have the actual quote, but he said something to the effect of, "The video games are what's causing all the youth to be violent and riot."
And by all the youth, he means exclusively immigrant youth.
Yeah. Maybe if you didn't give them hotel rooms with Xboxes in them. But
I don't think they do the hotel thing in France. I think that that's more of a Britain thing.
yeah. So either way. The guy that made Tekken and helped work on Soul Calibur is the most prominent figure that came out and took a dunk on him. But a whole bunch of people I saw come out and take a dunk on him at the time. And it's just funny that we have gone full circle again to back to oh no, dingle my dong, I'll save you.
I'm really unsure whether or not it was like his advisor told him to say that because his advisor thinks that it's believable, or his advisor told him to say that because his advisor know it's really stupid and that people will talk about how stupid it is instead of discussing the actual problem.
Yeah, it's a meme for a reason at this point. It was disproven 30, 40 years ago nearly at this point, and that well has been dry for a long, long time. No one believes it anymore.
You can try to say garbage in, garbage out, and you would be correct to an extent. But the fact of the matter is that video games are not actually going out and shooting people.
No.
You are playing a game. There's a clear distinction between reality and game.
And people are very, very well, very adept at telling the difference between fantasy and reality.
Well, they used to be. I'm not so sure anymore.
Delusion and reality is a different matter.
They for the most part, you can assume the most people are able to tell the difference, and it ain't the video games that are the likely cause of this. But the French government is just flailing and looking for something to blame, and I just found it really, really funny that they pulled the video game excuse out.
Yeah, because I mean, literally everybody. If you're looking for like a there's something to blame a pathology on. Like, it's fairly easy for anybody who has a pair of eyes in their head to see, oh, well, the media thing that people immediately run out and copy when they see it is social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you want the actual cancer on society, it's social media.
Yes. People letting the horde do their thinking for them.
If you nuke the Twitter and Facebook servers, until the next social media platform crops up, the world is going to be a much happier place for a while.
Oh, you see, on that note, you notice that Facebook and Twitter are getting into a slap fight.
Oh yeah, the Twitter.
Yeah, you say a slap fight. It probably is going to be a slap fight, isn't it?
Yes, because it is in Silicon Valley, but yeah.
Well, Musk did.
No, they're going to fight. They're going to fight.
They're going to fight.
That's what I'm talking. They're going to have a match.
Italy offered them to come fight in the Colosseum.
Hell yeah! I knew I liked the Italians.
Yeah, so they offered the Colosseum when Elon Musk and Zuckerberg said they should have an MMA match.
I would pay good money for Daddy Mars to fight the Lizard Person King.
Now, here's the problem. Rocket Man is quite a bit smaller than the Lizard Man.
Well, that's because the Lizard Man is the Lizard Man.
Yes, in terms of
the
raw
Lizard
mass.
Man has like acid spit and.
I mean, just in terms of visible mass, not even the secret weapons he's got.
To be fair, Buck has flamethrowers.
He does, but I don't think those are allowed in MMA. I don't think those count as martial arts.
Yeah, but
there aren't rules against acid spit, so.
True.
That's a function of the body. But the Zuckerberg is quite a broad-shouldered, naturally big dude, compared to Musk. But because Musk is actually kind of small when you look at him. So I'm a little worried that that Rocket Man might walk into that fight and just get stuck because he doesn't have the mass to pull it off.
It'll be the best fight the Colosseum has ever seen.
As soon as he tries to grapple with Zuckerberg, like Zuckerberg will shed his tail to get away.
Yep.
Oh man, he has Think of all the extra reach with his tail whips.
Until he sheds it, yes. So
Well, that's when the robot tail comes out to replace it immediately because he's actually a robot lizard person.
see,
He was both the whole time.
any animators out there, get on it, please.
Did you ever watch that Celebrity Deathmatch show?
I kind of watched a few episodes back when MTV back did stuff that was music adjacent.
I've never seen. I've never spent much time watching MTV since it wasn't really a thing in New Zealand. But on those times that I did happen to see it, never once did I see anything resembling a music video on it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they lost all that sort of credibility when they started putting out crap like Jersey Shore. Pretty sure that was MTV.
Yeah, MTV was in my age bracket to watch. I just never was interested in it.
Yeah, they started out doing music videos and little else but, and then they added more and more stuff, started making more content, and then they went down the reality TV rabbit hole.
Yeah, like every TV station did.
Yes.
Is that still a thing? Is that what's still on television?
Oh yeah.
Because I don't
there's
watch
still
television. So.
For example,
there's still plenty of reality TV shows out there.
yeah, like. But
Yeah, but is it like every channel like it was when I was a teenager?
not as
Like every
quite
single
that
channel
bad.
is pretty much all reality TV all the time.
Nah, Netflix is full of them. Like my mum's actually out there watching at the moment a TV show where it's all about finding the cake. Like, is this a printer or is it cake?
Yeah, the stuff my mother watches on the television is like reality TV game shows. She likes those a lot. Like, she watches one that's like a bunch of tattoo artists that have to compete for who can do the best tattoo, or
Yeah,
the makeup artists that have to make monsters and
think I
like
saw that.
more.
On television, like daytime television once.
Yeah, there's a whole genre of them where they've just taken the Great British Bake Off and copied the formula and applied it to another hobby. I've watched
Yeah,
the glass
y'all-
blowing one, which normally glass blowing is really cool.
Y'all can just turn in that one and be done with it. You know that, right?
Yeah, we should.
Oh right, I keep forgetting. I was zoning out.
Yeah, somehow this show made glass blowers the most fart sniffing people you could hope to meet.
I can't turn anything in. This bee is trying to kill me,
I got
and
it.
I can't fight it.
I'm gonna go protect the
Yeah.
thing before it gets dead.
Anyway, back onto news. Valve is doing a thing.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
because-
not.
They're
They're
not
not
doing
doing
a
a thing.
thing. Yes.
So, specifically, there are. I can understand this argument that Valve's making. A lot of people are saying it's BS, but I can totally see it. Valve is not allowing games with a significant amount of AI content to be put up for sale on Steam because they aren't sure how copyright law works with it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be first off the boats into that fight. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's a big
Yeah.
debate about copyright AI art at the moment because a lot of it just pulls from everywhere on the internet. It doesn't pull from specific pools or from public domain. It pulls from all over the place.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
even
one of
the-
those things where sooner or later there's going to be a landmark case that will set the precedent. But until then, nobody wants to be the one that gets caught in the firing line.
Yeah, nobody wants to be
Yeah.
at the bottom end of that case.
So they haven't. There's no way to really give a quantifiable metric to this. So I think the phrasing they used was a significant amount of AI content. But how much that is, we don't know, and I don't think they do either. They're playing this one by ear and just trying to avoid the lawsuits.
Yeah, like games that use a bit of AI art here and there to like fill out like textures or stuff like that. It's pretty common now. That I don't think is going to be the issue. But
The thing here that people were a little grumbly about was like games produced by people that have decent coding and game design knowledge, but no artistic skills whatsoever, can use AI to cheat. And Valve's like, yeah, that's cool, but we don't know if we're going to get sued for that later.
yeah, that's a whole legal ant's nest right there. There is currently, I know, there's one game on Steam at the moment which is very heavy on the AI, and that's Galactic Civilizations 4. But the catch there is they're using their own art for the pool. You can basically type in a phrase and it will generate an alien race backstory, lore, the whole 9 yards for you.
Well, that's effectively just giving you're paying for a pseudo AI app yourself.
Basically,
you're not.
they've built their own AI and they've got all the resources there. It's completely self-contained.
Yeah.
You're
just paying for one very small scale.
Because it does look kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, I've messed with the art generators to make funny pictures before. It's interesting and fun, but
yeah, and it's
I'm
never quite what you want.
I'm genuinely terrified of not the crazy ideas that you hear a lot of people talking about when it comes to AI. The things that concern me are the much smaller, more practical ways it's going to make jobs irrelevant, particularly my job. What it will not be as good ever as a real person, but you could eventually get to, probably within the next decade, an AI that can spec out a pump system and do an engineering write-up for it by just doing it and just looking at its database and seeing what's applicable based on the information the customer gives.
Just follow
and there's nothing stopping Weil or Canaris or any of the people I rep from just saying, yeah, we're just going to use that instead of reps, and we'll just have the contractors, if they want our pump, just submit their stuff to us, and we'll have the AI figure it out.
You know,
but if we look at what's either up or downstream of that, then you've got like, okay, let's give an analogous situation where you've moved a little bit further down the line. You need to install a bridge over a river, and rather than paying a civil engineer to spec it all out and do the schematics, you just do it algorithmically. And when the bridge collapses and a few hundred people die, who's now going to be held responsible?
Yeah, because the first company that does that will have that bridge collapse.
But like Valve, nobody wants to be that guy.
Nobody wants to be that guy.
Yeah,
the closest we're getting to it at the moment is the media is currently looking at doing it. Both media and Hollywood to a degree.
Well, the media are already doing it. Most of the articles being churned out nowadays are just algorithmic anyway.
Well, they already were. It's just that the robot is now an actual robot rather than a pre-programmed human.
The journalist class and the movie-making class are also insulated from consequences in general.
If the journalist class did any journalism, like investigative journalism on the ground, then they wouldn't be replaceable.
Yeah, if they did an actual journalism, and that's...
There is literally a course for them to become irreplaceable by AI simply by means of doing their job with the same job title and responsibilities, except they actually do them.
Yeah, the freedom from consequences thing doesn't really apply to journalists anymore, because now it's like, well, your content is so generic, we can get a robot to do it.
Yeah, the only journalist, in air quotes, that I consider an old school investigative journalist that's actually made it and is still in people's minds is James O'Keefe.
There's not many of them around.
He's the last one of actual journalists who most people who follow stories that go around the internet could probably
He's the most mainstream of them, though. Like, there's various people who do things like you don't think there's any mainstream journalists who are doing I was not here in time to save Dingle Madong.
Oh, Dingle Madong died. No.
Can you resuscitate him?
I resuscitated Dingle Madong.
Oops. About tank stance by accident.
But the people who are doing coverage of like the camps at Calais and that, like, those aren't mainstream journalists. There are still people doing journalism of things like that. James O'Keefe was basically, he is known to people because he was enough of a threat to the establishment that they made a big deal about him, and he got famous that way. But like, there are still a handful of people who do investigative journalism. Like what's that guy? What's his name? The gay guy who's like was investigating Antifa.
Oh, Andy, no.
Yeah, like, he's doing investigative journalism.
I guess so.
There are a few of them. It's just none of them work for what we traditionally regard as journalistic outlets.
Oh man.
Yeah, which is why
that reminds me.
Part of why I find the Hollywood writers' strike at the moment so very amusing is because work hasn't stopped in that sphere. They've just started farming it off to AIs.
Well, that and they've just found people that are independent and just don't credit their actual name and go under pseudonym.
Yeah.
This is how they worked around it in the writer's strike. Oh man, it was when Heroes Season 2 was airing, because I remember that show went to crap during it, because that show didn't figure
That
it
one
out.
went to hell. I think actually,
Good
as of
grief,
this
that
time-
must have been like more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
but
was.
the same tactics being used.
But I actually expect when the trickle down from this strike hits the general public, there's going to be a sharp increase in quality rather than decrease. Because oh boy,
Well,
they were not producing good stuff before, and they decided to go on strike and ask for more money.
Like, sorry, but I guarantee every single one of them voted for inflation. So
If you want more money, you gotta actually bring the product, and you weren't bringing it.
I don't like the "but you voted for this, so you get what you deserve" argument. But in their case, they definitely did,
Yeah, it's usually
and were
pretty
exuberant about it.
argument.
They gloated even.
Yeah, like
Rooted.
I can go to any Hollywood writer's Twitter and prove that they actually did. So yeah, there's that one.
What's next?
Hang on, I'm trying to run out of AoE. I gotta scroll down.
Want to talk about Blue Archive again?
Yeah, sure. We can segue from Mine and Ball's week here. So I read this story earlier in the week, so I'll try and remember everything about it. The South Korea Ratings Board decided to give Blue Archive an M rating. This meant the game had to be split into two different versions, a censored and uncensored version. Now, I don't know exactly what they censored in the censored version.
It's basically skin.
Yeah. So, this meant for Blue Archive fans, they were very mad because all of a sudden their app is not able to make the front page of the App Store because it's rated M now, or rated 17 plus, I suppose. So higher than M. But yeah, so they were mad, and because if your app ain't making money, it can go the way of Pinecone.
Remember what they took from us.
I'm never gonna forgive Crunchy. So what they did was they signed up. They rallied together and got enough people to get a politician's attention, who managed to get the ratings board audited and found out they were embezzling money that was everywhere, all over the company.
Oh wow, that's great.
So the ratings board was corrupt, and I don't know if they got the decision overturned or not. But for
If
the M
nothing
rating,
else, they got revenge.
but yeah,
Yes.
they gave that ratings board a kick in the teeth for it.
I wonder if we can do it with our ratings board. Although I think it's not so much that they're corrupt; it's more that they're fossilized. Ugh.
I think of the Australians ratings board as the three the three or four high lord, I don't remember, the high lords of terror from If the
Yes.
Emperor Had a Text to Speech Device.
Exactly that.
Those are the ratings board in Australia.
I wet myself. Yeah, up until the the whole diplomatic rap battle thing that happened on Mars. Ignoring that,
Yeah.
that was glorious. But yeah, the doddering old fools who sit around and talk about their butts and decide the fate of worlds. Yeah, our rating board really needs a kick in the butt.
Yeah. How close are you to 73, Fern?
Oh, if this boss sneezes, I will probably just ding right from that.
Okay, cool. So we got you 2 levels.
Yeah,
and some
I'm less
change.
than 1% away. And
So-
last little bit, Tsukihime, a piece of blue glass moon.
The first half, the near side routes of Tsukihime in the remake, the only part that's been made, is confirmed for localization.
Yay! Who's doing the
Is it
localization?
going to be another decade before the far side routes come out?
Who knows with Nasu? Depends on how much he had to drink at the bar.
Then yes. So yeah, there you
So
go.
I'm taking a boss, so I don't know who's doing it, but usually people that translate VNs are just
Aniplex.
translating VNs. Yeah, maybe. They sometimes do a good job, and sometimes they don't.
I guess it depends on which team they give it to.
Well, it won't go to one of the main ones because the main localizing teams, I don't think, because those ones usually only work on video games as opposed to VNs. So I don't know, sort of hard to say.
Yeah.
But
They would probably be better off if they bought somebody else's translation and gave it a workover rather than trying to start over from scratch. To just give somebody a chance to stick their oar in.
But yeah, I have very little to no interest in the other routes. This is the only half of Tsukihime I want to read, because the other half involves Akia.
But Aki has my favorite heroine.
No,
No?
just no.
There's no.
So this is good news. I don't know if I'll buy it. Tsukihime is interesting. I like the stuff it sets up with the world, and obviously I don't know what the rewrites are like for the remake, but yeah, it is something that I could see me picking up and playing through. And it's in the Type Moon wheelhouse, which we talk about a lot. So I figured I'd throw it in there and let you know that yeah, it is actually getting localized.
There we go.
You get your ding, you got your ding, you
I
ding.
gonged. So with that, we should probably wrap up. So I think we've
Yeah.
gone through all the articles. There wasn't a whole lot this week.
Dump my bicolored gemstones on music scrolls or something.
Oh yeah, I need to do that.
So yeah, got y'all some serious progress on Shared Fates and got Fern 2.5 levels.
Yeah, 2.5 levels. So can't argue with that.
So yeah, that is a fairly productive bit of grind in there. I made progress on my bicolored gemstone miscellaneous collectibles, getting them orchestrion rolls that cost 350 a pop.
Yikes.
I got like 3 of them today, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I think 1,000 is. Considering the cost of some of these items, 1,000 is not a high limit.
They have vouchers for the really expensive stuff. You can just turn your once you get rank 3 in all of an expansion zones, you can go get bicolored gemstone vouchers for that expansion that you can use to buy the really expensive stuff, like the ugly Wyver mount that costs like 50 million on the auction house.
It is ugly, but it's a very prestigious ugly mount. Why so ugly?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited to get back in Trails and Reverie and see where they're going with it. All right, so want to start wrapping up then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, closing comments and I'll get us out of here.
I might actually have some video game to talk about next week. I might be getting some time.
I don't foresee me getting time. Things are getting rough at work again. I'm getting closer and closer to my deadline for dealing with the corrective actions from the audit, and I haven't got any time to work on them because the sales are up so high. And there's just one of me. And I only have one pair of hands.
Yeah.
I need people to
Biologist,
leave me
grow extra
alone.
hands.
I just need to be left alone and allowed to do the work
Can't do that.
for once instead of being bothered every 5 seconds by somebody.
Definitely can't do that. That's what management's there for. It's to get in the way and accomplish nothing.
Oh, I think it's more as employees getting in the way this time.
Well, it's both really. They just have different complaints, that's all.
So, yeah, I hope my work is. I do need some work. I got to get more sales. I got a few small sales this week, but I need to get some bigger sales out there to keep the cash flow going. So hopefully I get some sales, but not too many because I still want to play Trails in the Reverie.
Yes.
So yep. I'll come back with more of that probably next week, and that'll probably be the only media I play. So, alrighty.
Yep.
I think we're done, folks. We'll see you next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.